Chapter 188. Say no more. I have my own plans. Wait. All right. The middle-aged man was helpless. Giddy up, Yin Chuan, Yin Wudi, Hua Guang, and the 200 embroidered uniform army soldiers were galloping on the rugged mountain road. Over there, Lord is over there. Hua Guang pointed into the distance. Let's go. Everyone chased after him. The direction that Hua Guang pointed at was filled with sword radiance. Numerous sharp blades pierced in all directions, creating a loud explosion. Sword chi shot out in all directions, flattening half of the surrounding mountains. No, no. Poisoner's terrified cry could be heard from the center of the sword chi. Poisoner, give me your life. Following the Dugu Sword Emperor's roar, the thousands of sword chi were suddenly sucked back into his body. It was as if 10,000 arrows had pierced through his heart. Boom! A loud explosion was heard, and a huge gust of wind blew in all directions. Smoke and dust rose, causing Yin Chuan and the rest to immediately pull on the reins and stop their advance. After the smoke and dust dispersed, Yin Chuan and the rest rode forward again. Bang! A dull sound was heard, and the battle stopped. The two people in the air landed on the ground. Poisoner's face was pale as he lay on the ground. There were countless cracks all over his body, and one could see the white bones exposed from every crack. Dugu Sword Emperor, I will take revenge, the weak poisoner said with a ferocious expression. You won't have the chance. Now, I will chop off your head and offer it to her soul in heaven. The Dugu Sword Emperor also had a ferocious expression. Shing! Boom! Poisoner's head was chopped off, and fresh blood gushed out from his neck. Even before his death, Poisoner's eyes were still wide open, filled with unwillingness, and great hatred. After chopping off Poisoner's head, the Dugu Sword Emperor went silent, closed his eyes, and immersed himself in his own world. However, when Yin Chuan and the rest arrived, the Dugu Sword Emperor's closed eyes were already overflowing with tears. For 20 years, the Dugu Sword Emperor had been thinking about revenge every day. However, after killing his last enemy, the Dugu Sword Emperor realized that his heart had become empty. So what if his enemies were all dead? She could no longer come back. Master, Yin Wudi softly. Everyone dismounted. Yin Wudi's voice awakened Dugu Jianwang, and he wiped away his tears. The Dugu Sword Emperor looked at Yin and the rest. Many thanks, Solitary Sword King said sincerely. Because of Yin Chuan, Dugu Jianwang was able to kill his enemy. The Dugu Sword Emperor's voice was extremely solemn. It's nothing. Remember what you promised me. Teach Yin Wudi well, Yin Chuan said solemnly. Don't worry. The Dugu Sword Emperor nodded affirmatively. The Dugu Sword Emperor walked to the side and picked up Poisoner's head. He then looked at Yin Wudi. Disciple, come with me. I'll bring you to pay respects to your master's wife. The Dugu Sword Emperor sighed. Yes. Yin Wudi nodded. After paying respects to her, we'll return to Yinjing and bid farewell to everyone. At that time, I have something for you. Yin Chuan said to Yin Wudi. Yin Wudi nodded. Let's go. The Dugu Sword Emperor wasn't in the mood for anything else. He waved his sleeves and brought Yin Wudi up into the sky. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the distance. He watched the two of them leave. Yin Chuan looked at Poisoner's corpse again. His head had been chopped off. All that was left was a headless corpse. A few embroidered uniform soldiers quickly searched the headless corpse. Lord, there's nothing on this person. One of the embroidered uniform soldiers shouted. Perhaps he was in a hurry during the battle. Poisoner's belongings should be in Yinjing City, Hua Guang said after some thought. Chapter 189. Yin Chuan stepped forward. Lord, Hua Guang looked at Yin Chuan in confusion. Cut open his chest. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Yes. Hua Guang replied. Tisk. The gun cut open Poisoner's chest. Where's his heart? Hua Guang asked in surprise. His heart is gone. The embroidered uniform army soldiers were also surprised. Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. Burn it. Yin Chuan took a deep breath. Yes. Several embroidered uniform army soldiers quickly gathered the firewood and lit it. Lord, his heart is broken. How did this happen? Hua Guang asked in confusion. Yang shattering art. It really is the Yang shattering art. Yin Chuan's expression turned serious. What do you mean? Feng Shui masters have a special secret art. In a specific environment, they can self-detonate their hearts. This is the Yang shattering art. If other people are killed, they will die. However, Feng Shui masters have a deep understanding of Yin and Yang. Even if they turn into ghosts after death, they can still come back to life. No, it exists in another form. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Ah, Lord, you're saying that Poisoner isn't dead? Hua Guang exclaimed. He's dead. However, his spirit isn't destroyed. He used the Yang shattering art to turn from a living spirit to a dead spirit. Yin Chuan said. Living spirit? Dead spirit? Hua Guang was confused. At this moment, he should be in the netherworld and turned into a dead spirit. Some Feng Shui masters can travel between the netherworld and the netherworld and turn into dead spirits. Perhaps we can see him again in the future. However, it won't be easy to return to the world of the living. There's no need to worry for the time being. Yin Chuan shook his head. Ah, then should we tell the Dugu Sword Emperor? Hua Guang asked again. Yin Chuan shook his head and said, there's no need for that. He has already carried that grudge for 20 years. He doesn't need to carry it anymore. Swish, swish, swish. The fire burned Poisoner's body. Yin Chuan and the others watched as Poisoner's corpse turned into ashes. Giddy up, giddy up. In the distance, suddenly 6 or 7 Hanchua horses galloped over. They were all members of the embroidered army. Weren't they guarding the prison? Why are you here? Did something happen in the prison? Hua Guang's expression changed. Your Highness. A few embroidered uniformed soldiers rushed over anxiously. When they got close, everyone quickly got off their horses. What's wrong? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. Lord, Eunuch Lu sent someone to deliver a message. There's a change in the Star Luo Mountain Villa. An embroidered uniformed soldier said anxiously. Yin Chuan raised his eyebrows. Eunuch Lu said that someone is trying to poach the Lord. The 6 people from the Julu Academy might want to take Grand Preceptor Yi Feng into the Julu Academy. The soldier said anxiously. Meng Rongrong? Yin Chuan's expression darkened. Lord, these people. Hua Guang's expression also turned ugly. Hua Guang naturally understood that Yin Chuan was determined to get Yi Feng. Now, a group of people from the Immortal sect wanted to snatch him away. Get on your horses, let's go. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Everyone quickly got on their horses. Giddy up, giddy up. The group galloped towards the Star Luo Mountain Villa. Star Luo Mountain Villa. In the valley, the 6 people from the Julu Academy sat in a luxurious palace. Miss, this Yi Feng is too ignorant. Miss gave him so much face, but he doesn't appreciate it? Yeah, with his constitution, Miss gave him the essence-boosting pill and even invited him into the Julu Academy. Yet, he still pretends to be virtuous. Everyone was criticizing Yi Feng, but Meng Rongrong only smiled. It's fine. It's fine to wait a few days. Moreover, Yin Chuan and Yi Feng are seriously playing chess again. I want to see the result. Also, since Yin Chuan is here, it's good to bring him into the Julu Academy, Meng Rongrong said with a smile. Chapter 190. Giddy up, giddy up. In the outer valley of the Starnet Villa, the sound of galloping horses could be heard. Ooh! Yin Chuan pulled on the reins. The Hanchua horses neighed loudly, and the embroidered uniform guards behind them all stopped. Emperor equal to the Emperor? The Emperor is here. He's really a king on par with me. The surrounding Go masters immediately revealed shocked expressions. At this moment, no one dared to underestimate Yin Chuan anymore. When everyone looked at Yin Chuan, they all showed reverence. One had to know that the chess Saint Yi Feng was an undefeated legend. The young man in front of him had actually defeated a legend? How good was this person's Go skills? Lu Jin spotted Yin Chuan from afar and quickly approached him. Lord, you're finally here. Lu Jin exhaled deeply. How is it? Yin Chuan asked in a deep voice. That day, the old slave went with everyone from the Julu Academy. Lu Jin immediately recounted the events of that day. Yin Chuan listened carefully. Lore, that's it. Lu Jin explained in detail. Taking a deep breath, Yin Chuan nodded and smiled. Lu Jin, you've matured. Well done. Ah, yes, thank the Lord. Lu Jin said immediately. But Lord, the old slave still doesn't understand. I didn't say anything at that time. Why didn't he phone accept the goodwill of the Jiulu Academy? Lu Jin asked curiously. Yifeng is a wise man. He knows that once he accepts it, he can't take it back. Moreover, during the game of Go, I told him a lot. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Oh, Lu Jin was still a little puzzled. At this time, Yifeng's grandson also came over. Yilin greets the emperor. Yilin still looked at Yin Chuan in an unfriendly manner. You are the grandson that Grand Tutor Yifeng values the most? Yin Chuan said with a smile. Grandfather is resting for the time being, but he told me that if the Lord comes, I am to lead you to the middle of the valley, so you can rest first. Yilin took a deep breath and said. Before Yin Chuan could say anything, another person walked up from nearby. Changqing. Changqing walked over and said with a smile, Emperor equal to one. Senior. Yilin said politely. Changqing nodded at Yilin and turned to look at Yin Chuan. Oh, it's Changqing? Yin Chuan smiled. Young mistress knows that you are here and specially asked me to invite you over. She has something important to discuss with you. Changqing said with a smile. Oh, Yilin, Yifeng is resting now. Let me borrow your guest. Changqing said with a smile. Of course. Yilin was naturally polite. Yin Chuan looked at Changqing quietly. Then he smiled and said, All right, then I'll have to trouble you. Please. Changqing said with a smile. Huaguang, leave 2 people to wait for me in the outer valley. Bring the rest back to Beijing to look for poisoner's relics. Yin Chuan ordered. Yes. Huaguang replied. Lu Jin, follow me into the valley. Yes. Yin Chuan and Lu Jin quickly entered the middle of the valley under Changqing's lead. In the middle of the valley, the environment was beautiful and hundreds of flowers were blooming. There was a waterfall in the distance and a large lake in the middle. It looked like a fairyland. The environment is great, Yin Chuan praised. That's right. There aren't many natural environments like this. Changqing sighed. As they spoke, they arrived at a pavilion by the lake. At this moment, Meng Rongrong was sitting in the pavilion, drinking tea and looking at the lake. 4 Jiulu Academy students who were with Changqing stood at the side of the pavilion. Chapter 191. Eldest Miss, Yin Chuan is here. Changqing shouted. Meng Rongrong turned around and stood up slightly. Prince Yin, we meet again. Meng Rongrong smiled. I dare not. I have never met you before. Yin Chuan smiled. Everyone was slightly stunned. Meng Rongrong smiled and gently took off the bamboo hat on her head. As soon as the bamboo hat was taken off, a peerless beauty was revealed. There was a beauty mole at the corner of her eye, which showed Meng Rongrong's peerless beauty. Outside the pavilion, Yilin looked at Meng Rongrong in surprise. Obviously, Meng Rongrong's beauty had a great impact on Yilin. Lu Jin was a eunuch. Although he was stunned, he did not have any desire. Yin Chuan was also stunned, but he was very calm and did not make a fool of himself. Have a seat. Meng Rongrong smiled. This smile was like 100 flowers blooming. Yilin, who was at the side, was stunned. Changqing and the others also blushed slightly. They did not dare to look at eldest miss again. Okay. Yin Chuan nodded. Meng Rongrong and Yin Chuan sat down. Lu Jin stood behind Yin Chuan. Changqing and the others stood behind Meng Rongrong. Outside the pavilion, Yilin looked and realized that he had lost his composure. He looked at the pavilion again and then left reluctantly. I've been studying Prince Yan's chess game these few days. It is very exciting. Meng Rongrong smiled. Thank you, Yin Chuan said directly. Yin Chuan didn't stand on ceremony. He picked up the tea and drank it. What does Prince Yin think of the Jiulu Academy? Meng Rongrong asked. I don't have any opinions. I haven't been there before, so I can't comment on it. If Miss Meng has something to say, you may as well say it directly, Yin Chuan said with a faint smile. Although Yin Chuan's tone was polite, Meng Rongrong could hear the distance between the lines. Haha, I'll get straight to the point. With your ability, I'm sure you can guess what the Julu Academy is like. I invited you here to ask if you're interested in joining the Julu Academy, Meng Rongrong said with a smile. Enter the Julu Academy? Yin Chuan pondered. That's right. You should understand that although the Julu Academy can't be considered one of the top sects in the world, it is much better than your day's sect. Moreover, the Julu Academy has been passed down for 50,000 years, Meng Rongrong said. 50,000 years? Yin Chuan thought for a moment. This was because Yin Chuan had never heard of the Julu Academy in his previous life. What do you think? Meng Rongrong said with a smile. After taking a deep breath, Yin Chuan put down his teacup and said solemnly, Yin Chuan can see the sincerity in Miss Meng's invitation. Yin Chuan thanks you. Meng Rongrong smiled faintly. However, I'm very sorry. I, Yin Chuan, have my own way of thinking. I have my own path. Although the Julu Academy is good, it's not what I want. Yin Chuan shook his head. Meng Rongrong frowned. Also, Miss Meng's previous actions, were they not open and above board? Yin Chuan asked in a low voice. Yin Chuan, what did you say? Chongqing immediately glared. Yin Chuan glanced at Chongqing and ignored him. Instead, he stared at Meng Rongrong with a questioning gaze. Not open and above board? Are you saying that Chongqing is an official in the Yin state? Meng Rongrong asked in a low voice. No, I don't care about what happened in the past. As long as it doesn't threaten the Yin state, I can turn a blind eye. I'm talking about the matter of Miss Meng meeting Grand Preceptor Yifeng a few days ago. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Oh, am I not open and above board? Meng Rongrong asked in a low voice. Chapter 192. Imperial Tutor Yifeng is a citizen of the Yin state. You try to tempt my citizen without my permission. That's not fair and square. That's the first reason. When I played chess with Imperial Tutor Yifeng, it was obvious that I had a goal and a decision to make. Before the matter was settled, you rudely interfered. That's not fair and square enough. That's the second reason. Miss Meng, what do you think? Yin Chuan asked in a low voice. Bastard, does Miss Meng need to answer to you? Someone shouted from side. The Julu Academy accepting students is his good fortune. It's your Yin state's good fortune. Another person shouted. Ha, good fortune. Shang Ruo. I tricked all the great scholars of the Julu Academy. That's their good fortune, and also your Julu Academy's good fortune. Yin Chuan shouted coldly. How dare you? Arrogant. That's enough. Meng Rongrong waved her hand and stopped the person behind her from speaking. Meng Rongrong smiled slightly. Are you trying to anger me and make the Julu Academy give up on accepting Yifeng? I, Yin Chuan, am not that despicable. Yifeng is a citizen of a Yin state. I believe in his character. He won't switch to the Julu Academy just because of some temptations. Yin Chuan laughed. Then what do you mean? Meng Rongrong said in a low voice. I'm just stating a fact. Miss Meng, I know that the Julu Academy has countless practitioners and is very strong. The Yin state doesn't care about you at all. However, an academy that has been passed down for 50,000 years must have its own principles. Does the Julu Academy's principles include bullying others? Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Bullying others? Meng Rongrong looked at Yin Chuan strangely. Are you saying that I'm a bully? Isn't that right? Poaching Yin state's people, doesn't that count? Yin Chuan said with a smile. Meng Rongrong raised her eyebrows. She was somewhat angered by Yin Chuan's crooked reasoning. However, she rationally realized that what Yin Chuan said was not wrong. If the Yin state was considered as a sect, then her wantonly poaching people was indeed a bully. The Julu Academy has been passed down for 50,000 years. What relies on is not only strength, but also principles. This is the foundation of the Julu Academy. My previous actions were thoughtless. However, if Yifeng doesn't want to stay in the Yin state, I will definitely take him away. Meng Rongrong said in a deep voice. That's natural. If I, Yin Chuan, am unable to keep Yifeng, then you can take him away. I won't stop you. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said with a smile. Stop you? Just you? A person behind Meng Rongrong said disdainfully. Miss Meng, you won't rob him, right? Yin Chuan said with a smile. Meng Rongrong's eyes flashed with anger. Yin Chuan's words made it seem as if she was a despicable person. Umph. Yin Chuan, keep dreaming. Yifeng is a person who is about to die. Only the Julu Academy is his home. Only the Julu Academy can let him display his talents. How can he stay? Another person shouted. That's right. What can you give him? Meng Rongrong said in a deep voice. No matter what I can give him, I think that after playing another game of chess with Yifeng, he will definitely not want to enter the Julu Academy. I didn't mean anything by all that I said just now. I just want to emphasize that I hope Miss Ming won't make things difficult for him. Yin Chuan said with a serious face. Haha, make things difficult for him? Do you think that Yifeng will stay in the small yin state? Meng Rongrong said in a strange voice. Obviously, in Meng Rongrong's mind, the small yin state was indeed not worthy of being shown in public. I'm sure, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Ha ha ha, keep dreaming. That's impossible, the Julu Academy students said in disbelief. Meng Rongrong raised her eyebrows as if she had sensed something. At this moment, Yin Chuan suddenly stood up and bowed slightly to Meng Rongrong. Miss Meng, please fulfill my wish. Meng Rongrong's face twitched slightly. She couldn't see through Yin Chuan. Why was he so confident? Fulfill his wish. After the game, if Yifeng is willing to come with us, Meng Rongrong said in a deep voice. I'll clap my hands and send you off. Yin Chuan said with a confident smile. Meng Rongrong looked at Yin Chuan strangely. As long as you don't use underhanded methods, I'll fulfill your wish. Meng Rongrong nodded. Meng Rongrong was also full of confidence. The Julu Academy was a paradise for the wise. People like Yifeng yearned for it. Yifeng was old, so how could he give it up? Yin Chuan's actions are honorable, Yin Chuan said with certainty. After that, Yin Chuan led Lu Jin out of the pavilion. Eldest young miss, has this brat lost his mind? How is that possible? Someone stepped forward and asked. That's right. I admit that this kid plays chess well, but in my academy, there are many people who are better than him. It's impossible for Yifeng to be so short-sighted as to not be willing to follow us just because of a game of chess. While everyone was criticizing Yin Chuan, Meng Rongrong felt irritated. She didn't know why. Chapter 193. Star Luo Manor, Soaring Palace. Grandfather, what is that Yin Chuan up to? Elin said unhappily. What's wrong? Yifeng put down the book in his hand and smiled. What did he say? Flatten the island in the middle of the lake and want to play go with you? What does this game have to do with the island? He's looking for trouble, Elin said unhappily. Didn't he explain? Yifeng smiled. He explained, but what kind of explanation is that? The Grand Preceptor's Go skills are sufficient, but he doesn't know how deep they are. I will let the Grand Preceptor see the true extent of his Go skills. What is chess? Grandpa, look, what is he saying? How can you not know about your Go skills? You still need a brat like him to tell you what to do? Elin said angrily. Then fix the island in the middle of the lake according to what he said. Yifeng shook his head and smiled. But, Elin felt even more strange. Go. Yifeng smiled. All right. Elin sighed. Flatten the island in the middle of the lake and build a Go platform? At the lakeside, Meng Rongrong, Chongqing, and the others looked at the busy lake with strange expressions. First, young miss, what is Yin Chuan doing? Playing Go in the middle of the lake? Is there such a thing? Chongqing asked curiously. Let's wait. The game is about to start. We will know then. Meng Rongrong said. All right. In the valley, in a large hall, fog filled the air, making it difficult to see one's fingers. At the center of the hall was a desk. 8 oil lamps were lit. Lu Jin was grinding while Yin Chuan was writing on a piece of paper with a dream Immortal brush. On the paper, Yin Chuan was writing the word fog. When the word fog appeared, the fog in the surroundings trembled. Lu Jin, how many do you have? Yin Chuan asked in a deep voice. The Lord has already written 109 of them, 108 fog characters. The word fusion, Lu Jin said respectfully. All right, that's enough. Yin Chuan nodded. I'll rest for 2 days. You go and tell Ifong that I'll see you at Huxin Island 2 days later. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Yes, Lu Jin replied. Starnet Villa in the Outer Valley. The group of Go masters were no longer playing Go. However, none of them left. Instead, they all went to the entrance of the valley. A group of household servants stopped him. I heard that the Emperor's equal and master, are preparing to play a second game of Go. Can you pass on the message? We only wish to watch the battle. A white-browed chess master said politely. That's right, we won't say anything. We just want to watch the battle. Please report this to Mastery. We really want to watch this game. The group of Go masters longed. The previous game was already a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity. Now, it was rumored that the second game would be even more exciting. To ordinary people, it was merely a lively atmosphere. However, to these Go masters, who love Go as much as their lives, this was a fatal temptation. So much so that everyone was jointly pleading just to watch this game. Grandfather, the Go masters outside are jointly requesting an audience. However, wouldn't it be breaking the rules if so many people come in at once? Elin asked with a frown. If they want to watch, then watch. When the time comes, don't stop anyone who wants to watch. Ifong said with a smile. Yes. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Yin Chuan washed up and slowly walked out of his residence. Lu Jin led the way to the small lake. Chapter 194. At this moment, all the Go masters stood by the lake, watching eagerly as Yin Chuan walked over step by step. There was worship in their eyes, but they also felt speechless. They finally obtained the right to watch the Go game after much difficulty. However, they discovered that the two were playing in the center of the lake. How could they watch this? At a pavilion on the other side, Meng Rongrong wore a conical bamboo hat as she sat on a stone bench, drinking tea and watching quietly. Chongqing and the others stood behind her, watching this scene strangely. No one knew what Yin Chuan was up to. There were some simple cooking utensils, pastries, and a Go board in the center of the lake. There were also 2 benches for resting. A white-haired old man sat on the Go board. This old man showed an indifferent expression as he watched Yin Chuan walk over from a distance. Yin Chuan also saw the old man. However, he did not say anything as he was separated by the lake. Emperor equal to the Emperor, please. Elin stepped forward. All right. Yin Chuan nodded. Yin Chuan carried the Jade Emperor's sword on his back, and Lu Jin carried a painting on her back. They followed Elin onto a small boat, which quickly reached the island in the center. They reached the shore. Yin Chuan greets the Grand Preceptor. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Ifong greets the Emperor equal to the Emperor. Ifong also said politely. Yin Chuan chose this place to play Go with the Grand Preceptor to show off the exquisiteness of my Go Dao. I hope that the Grand Preceptor will like it. Yin Chuan said with a smile. I'll wait and see. Ifong nodded. Ifong did not say much. Yin Chuan did not say much, either, as now is not the time. Lu Jin. Yin Chuan looked at Lu Jin. Yes. Lu Jin quickly unfurled the spatial painting and slowly took out a piece of paper. Elin's eyes widened in surprise. In the distance, in the gazebo by the lake, Meng Rongrong said strangely, Spatial magic treasure? Yifeng's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. Lu Jin lifted the chessboard on the stone table and pressed the piece of paper under it. Melt? Good writing, but what does it mean? Yifeng smiled. You'll know soon enough. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Lu Jin, go. Yin Chuan looked at Lu Jin. Yes. Lu Jin stepped onto the small boat from before, and the household servant quickly steered the boat to the shore. Then, Lu Jin took out pieces of rice paper from the scroll. He placed one of them by the lakeside and used a rock to press it down. Buzz. The small lake was suddenly surrounded by mist. What's going on? Fog. Why is there fog here? Indeed, only this area has fog. There is no fog anywhere else. That piece of paper? Could it be an immortal magic treasure? The Go masters exclaimed in shock. However, Lu Jin ignored them. Instead, she went around the small lake and quickly arranged the pieces of rice paper, pressing them down with a rock to secure them. The fog grew thicker, with the lake's water replenishing the fog. the fog rose. Many gazes focused on each piece of rice paper. Startling wind and rain? Ifong exclaimed in shock. Oh, the Grand Tutor knows about it as well? Yin Chuan smiled. Your father mentioned it before. Unexpectedly, you actually reached this level at such a young age. Ifong sighed. Yin Chuan did not correct Xiao Chun. He only smiled faintly and said, when cultivators play Go, they infuse their magic energy into the chessboard. Right now, we are only in the strength realm and naturally cannot do that. I used a trick, using fog to manifest the Go Dao after gaining magic energy. Let's wait and see, Ifeng said with a smile. At the side, Ifeng's grandson revealed a stunned expression as he stared at Yin Chuan. It was like he was seeing Yin Chuan for the first time. At the pavilion by the lakeside, startling wind and rain? Was this written by Yin Chuan? Chan Qing exclaimed. Chapter 195. It's not a stroke of the brush, but a stroke of the brush, Meng Rongrong said in a low voice. What? A stroke of the brush? A stroke of the brush? How is that possible? The crowd exclaimed. Indeed, it can't be wrong. Although I haven't reached that level, I can still see that his chess skills are so good, and his calligraphy skills are so good. It's a pity that my brother isn't here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Yin Chuan take the lead. Meng Rongrong frowned. There was envy and dissatisfaction in her tone. Young mistress brother? Mr. Monroe? Yes, Mr. Monroe was the genius of the academy back then. If it wasn't for that incident back then, no matter what, Mr. Monroe is still young mistress brother. The relationship between you two can't be severed. Otherwise, Mr. Monroe wouldn't have given young mistress the essence-boosting pill. Chongqing said with a smile. Meng Rongrong nodded. She didn't want to say anything else. Not long after, Lu Jin arranged the 108 fog characters around the lake. For a moment, the entire lake was shrouded in a thick fog, and the thick fog was rolling nonstop. It was impossible to see the two people in the center of the lake. The chess masters couldn't see the chessboard in the lake in the first place. Now that it was shrouded in fog, they couldn't see anything at all. However, no one complained. Instead, they became even more excited. On the island in the middle of the lake, Ifeng looked at the fog in surprise. Yilin's mouth was wide open. This is, Ifeng asked. The Jilu Academy must have countless wise people, and many of them have made great achievements in chess. Although I haven't been to the Jilu Academy, I can feel the flourishing culture there. However, my calligraphy today contains some special Taoist rhymes. What I want to show the Grand Tutor is the way of chess in my heart. Grand Tutor, watch carefully, Yin Chuan said with a smile. Please. Ifeng gestured for him to move aside. Yin Chuan didn't stand on ceremony. He picked up a black piece between his index and middle fingers and placed it in the center of the chessboard. Pa! A piece was placed in the Tianyuan position. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud clap of thunder in the sky. Rumble! The white fog in the lake suddenly started to circle around the small island in the center. It circled clockwise, faster and faster. It was like a huge whirlpool with the island in the center. At the same time, a huge dark cloud had appeared above the white fog vortex. When the piece was placed in Tianyuan, a loud thunderclap came from this dark cloud. In the center of the dark clouds, a hole appeared. It was as if a black chess piece had been placed, and a large chessboard had appeared on the dark clouds. Why? The surrounding mortals all looked at this scene in horror. In the pavilion by the lake. Words? Showing the chi aura when the brush falls? Yin Chuan's words fused with the chessboard? Meng Rongrong asked in surprise. The fusion of calligraphy and chess. Chan Qing and the others were also stunned. How old is Yin Chuan? The people outside were already shocked, and Ifeng, who was on the island in the center of the lake, felt the same way. For a moment, it was as if the chessboard had fused with the surrounding white fog. Ifeng felt as if he was immersed in it. 4-4. Ifeng placed a white piece. Nay, nay, nay. In the rolling white fog, there was the sound of countless horses neighing. Boom! In the sky, there was another loud clap of thunder. Above the dark clouds, a white cloud spot suddenly appeared, as if it was reflecting the chessboard below. The sound of horses? Why is there the sound of horses? Lin asked in surprise. This fog enters the chessboard, and the chess pieces are all in the fog. When the troops are arranged and the pieces are placed, there will be thousands of troops in ambush. Yin Chuan explained. Pa. As he spoke, Yin Chuan placed another piece. Nay, nay, I'm invincible. Kill, kill, kill. In the white fog, tsunami-like war cries came, as if waiting for Yin Chuan's orders. The hot-blooded cries stirred the hearts of the people. Lin was so frightened that he fell to the ground, his face full of horror. Yifeng closed his eyes and felt it. When he closed his eyes, Yifeng felt like he was in the sea of clouds, sitting alone on a high platform. The sea of clouds surged in all directions, and in the chessboard in his hand were thousands of troops, waiting for him to arrange the troops, waiting for him to arrange the chess pieces. When he placed a piece, it was like placing thousands of troops in the sea of clouds. The chessboard was the battlefield, and the chessboard was the end of the world. His blood, which had been silent for decades, seemed to be ignited at this moment, boiling with zeal, dominating a region, challenging the world. Chapter 196. Dominating a region and challenging the world. Yifeng's eyes suddenly opened. A look of disbelief flashed across his eyes. Yin Chuan was clearly sitting right in front of him, but when he closed his eyes, he felt like Yin Chuan was sitting on the other side of the sea of clouds, arranging troops with him. When they played chess in the past, arranging troops was just a personal thought, an illusion. But now, he felt like he was seeing it with his own eyes. Tens of thousands of soldiers, a magnificent army? This is my go game. Yifeng frowned. That's right. Continue. Yin Chuan nodded. Sure. With me, I am invincible. The two of them continued to place down their go pieces and arrange their troops. For a moment, Yifeng closed his eyes and sensed that millions of soldiers filled the sea of clouds. They filled the entire world. The two of them were not fighting Go, but fighting the entire world. Wherever the Go pieces were placed, the troops would arrive. Every Go piece represented a different meaning. Some were bright Go pieces, while others were dark Go pieces. The bright Go pieces became tens of thousands of soldiers, while the dark Go pieces became tens of thousands of hidden murderous intents. More and more Go pieces were placed on the Go board. The shouts in the white fog grew louder and louder. Clap! Yin Chuan placed a Go piece on the edge of the Go board and slowly pushed it toward the center. Battle cries could be heard from the white fog. Kill! Kill! Hiya! Hiya! All troops charge! It was like a magnificent army suddenly raised their sabers and charged toward Yifeng's battlefield. The black Go piece came to a stop. Bang! Rumble! Kill! Go all out! Clang! 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 Roars could be heard as if two armies were fighting. In the sea of clouds, a great battle broke out. The original arrangement of troops ended, and a new phase began. When the Go pieces were placed, the world moved. Ambitious and ruthless characters rose to fight for the world. Yifeng closed his eyes and felt like he was in the middle of this exceptionally vast battle. The sounds of fighting and the neighing of horses could be heard continuously. In this noisy environment, Yifeng was not disturbed at all. Instead, he became even more engrossed in the game of Go. His mind was completely focused on the game of Go. He commanded the troops in the Go Bowl to attack the Cloud Sea battlefield, to attack the enemy, to attack everything. It was a showdown between two great chess masters. At the side, Yifeng's grandson was like a small boat in the middle of a roaring sea. He was shaking unsteadily, and his heart was trembling with fear. Vaguely, Lin could see valiant generals condensed in the white mist charging forward, some even charging past him. Lin had never felt such excitement in his life. At this moment, when Lin looked at Yin Chuan again, there was no longer a trace of unhappiness. There was only fear. This person was too terrifying. Above the lake, thick fog was rolling. No one at the lakeside could see what was inside. He could only see the dense fog that was constantly rotating. It was incomparably mysterious. The spinning speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, as if it was corresponding to the internal layout of the chessboard. Kill. Rumble. I'm invincible. Charge. Kill, kill, kill. Roars of wind and thunder came from the white mist. The sounds of thousands of troops fighting and charging rang out. At this moment, the Go master at the lakeside was stupefied. Why are there such sounds? Roars of wind and thunder? The sounds of battle on the battlefield? What was going on inside? Chapter 197. The Go masters felt confused, agitated, and excited. They even cheered in their hearts. The Go Dao. This was something that they had been pursuing all this time. They only knew that the Go Dao was profound. However, this was the first time they discovered that the Go Dao could be so powerful. Go! Go! The Go masters clenched their fists tightly as they looked at the white fog. They also looked at the dark clouds in the sky. Thunder rumbled endlessly in the dark clouds. Every time there was thunder, it was a ghost stone. The black ghost stones were dark pits, and the white ghost stones were white clouds. The Go masters looked at the white fog and listened to the sounds of battle as they quickly recorded the ghost stones with their brushes. This grand occasion of 1,000 years would definitely be passed down through the ages. In a pavilion at the side, Meng Rongrong, Chongqing, and the others frowned as they looked at the sky. First, young miss? What's going on? Chongqing asked with a frown. Yin Chuan? When he wrote the character for fog, he infused the rhythm of the battlefield. Hence, when the two placed their ghost stones, the character and the ghost stones merged. When they placed their ghost stones, they created a vast battlefield, setting up the world. Meng Rongrong explained. Some of the great scholars in the academy can do that as well. However, they rarely play like this in front of others. This is Chongqing's first time seeing this. Chongqing sighed. First time? Huh. Let's continue watching. Meng Rongrong's eyes grew increasingly frustrated. On the other side, Lu Jin sighed as she watched this scene. Then, she instructed an embroidered uniformed soldier beside her. You stay here. Eunuch Lu, you are leaving? That embroidered uniformed soldier asked, feeling confused. Right? The Lord has another mission for me. You will stay here to serve the Lord. If the Lord has any requests, you will be responsible for relaying them. Lu Jin said. Eunuch Lu, don't worry. That embroidered uniformed soldier immediately guaranteed. All right. Lu Jin nodded. While everyone was focused on the Go game in the middle of the lake, Lu Jin left the middle of the valley. Half a day later, in the Yin capital Imperial Palace, Lu Jin met with Yin Emperor. Lu Jin, I heard that Yin Chuan is playing against Yifeng? Yin Di asked curiously. Yes, the Lord sent me to deliver a message to you. Lu Jin said solemnly. Oh, Yin Emperor asked curiously. Lu Jin took a deep breath and said, the Lord says that it's about time. He wants the Yin Emperor to send a messenger pigeon to the front lines of the southern border and send troops to the state of Zheng to take back the 42 cities in the northern border of the state of Zheng. 42 cities in the northern frontier? Is it time now? Yindin narrowed his eyes. Yes, the Lord has said that you will be able to take it now. You have to be quick, or else there might be unforeseen circumstances. Okay, I got it. Yin Emperor nodded. In that case, Lu Jin will take her leave. Lu Jin said. All right. Yindi nodded. After watching Lu Jin leave, Yindi frowned and fell into deep thought. Outside the imperial palace, Lu Jin saw Hua Guang, whose clothes were somewhat tattered, as soon as she came out. Eunuch Lu, how is it? Hua Guang asked with a smile. According to the Lord's request, I've already informed Yin Emperor. What happens next is none of my business. Lu Jin said with a smile. The Lord is really amazing. He's playing a game of Go in the valley and another game outside. Hua Guang sighed. Actually, the Lord should be playing 3 games right now. Lu Jin said with a smile. Oh, the layout outside the valley is one game. The game inside the valley is another, and the game with Meng Rongrong is another game. We have nothing compared to the Julu Academy. In comparison, Yifeng is definitely more confident in the Julu Academy. Even if he's willing to play against the Lord, it's still the same. If we want to change Yifeng's mind and defeat Meng Rongrong, we have to win the first 2 games. We have to win the first 2 games to stimulate the 3rd game and defeat Meng Rongrong, Lu Jin said in a deep voice. Chapter 198. That's right. No matter who it is, no matter how many reasons they have, they're all willing to go to Jilu Academy. Those who aren't willing to help ordinary people in the power state. I hope that the Lord will win. Hua Guang nodded. We'll definitely win, Lu Jin said solemnly. Yes. Also, the Lord asked you to come back and look for Poisoner's relics. Have you found them? Lu Jin asked doubtfully. Motherfucker, it's the Zhao family who was hiding Poisoner. When the Poisoner was forced out, the Zhao family took everything and fled Beijing. I've already sent people to hunt them down. No one can take away what the Lord wants, Hua Guang said in a deep voice. Lu Jin nodded. In the middle of the valley, on the island in the middle of the lake, thick fog pervaded the air, and killing intent was everywhere. Yilin could not get a word in at this moment. Yin Xuan and Yifeng stared at the chessboard with rapt attention. The dragon has been formed. Wait for me to slaughter it, Yifeng said solemnly. Ha! A white piece landed on the chessboard. As the white chess piece was placed, a roar came from the surrounding fog again. Yifeng closed his eyes and once again saw the countless troops on the sea of clouds attacking according to his plan. 10,000 arrows. Yes. Bam, 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 bam. 100,000 arrows soared into the sky like a storm, shooting toward the other side of the sea of clouds, toward the forces controlled by Yin Xuan. Yifeng's heart was surging as he watched. The 10,000 arrows were shot out simultaneously, not because of their power, but because of their momentum. A feeling of surging momentum arose spontaneously. Yin Xuan stared at Yifeng. Seeing that Yifeng was enjoying this feeling, he revealed a satisfied smile. Slay my dragon? How could it be that easy? Reversal of yin and yang. Sacrifice death for life. Yin Xuan smiled. Ha! On the chessboard, Yin Xuan destroyed 3 of his own pieces, but because these 3 pieces were seeking death, the dragon came back to life. Once the dragon came back to life, the slaying of the dragon failed. And to counter Yifeng, shield block. Dang, 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 dang. Everyone charge. Yifeng closed his eyes. Above the cloud sea, Xiao Qian's initial advantage immediately reversed. The 2 armies clashed in close combat, instantly causing countless casualties. Yifeng raised his eyebrows. He pondered for a moment. Grandpa, it's time to eat, Yilin whispered from the side. No. Yifeng continued to look at the chessboard. I know that you won't be able to eat it this time. We don't know how long this game of chess will take. This is a fasting pill. 1 pill will last you 15 days. Yin Xuan handed over a small bottle. Yifeng stopped playing Go and looked at the small bottle. Then, he took a deep breath and nodded. All right, Venerable Grand Tutor, how is this Prince's Go setting? Yin Xuan asked with a smile. This is the first time I have seen something like this. It is exquisite and peerless, Yifeng said gravely. My Go pieces are not just on this chessboard, Yin Xuan said with a smile. Oh, in the future, my Go pieces will not just be here. No matter how big the sky is, everything will be my chessboard, Yin Xuan said seriously. Oh, Yifeng narrowed his eyes. Venerable Grand Tutor, you don't believe me? Yin Xuan asked with a smile. The Lord has great aspirations. This old man is already old, Yifeng said, shaking his head. Venerable Grand Tutor is undervaluing yourself. Old? How are you old? Yin Xuan countered with a smile. Yifeng smiled faintly and did not answer. Venerable Grand Tutor, what do you think of my yin state compared to the Jilu Academy? Yin Xuan asked again. Compared? Yifeng's eyes flashed. Yifeng was an extremely intelligent person. He immediately understood Yin Xuan's meaning. However, he looked at Yin Xuan with uncertainty. Yin Xuan wanted to develop the yin state to be as powerful as the Jilu Academy? Is that possible? Yifeng asked with a frown. Chapter 199. Is that possible? Yifeng frowned. The first person to become an immortal before he became an immortal, he looked up at the sky and said the same thing as you. Is it possible? Yin Chuan smiled. Ah. Yilin was at a loss. The first immortal? Who was the first immortal? Did he say that? Yilin was at a loss, but Yifeng understood. It was not important whether the first person to become an immortal said anything. What was important was Yin Chuan's current attitude. Was that even possible? Yes, why not? Yifeng smiled and shook his head. The Lord's idea is admirable, but I can tell you with certainty that it's absolutely possible. Yin Chuan said again. Oh, Yifeng narrowed his eyes. In terms of the political system, is the political system of the country not perfect? Yin Chuan asked. Perfect, it's a pity that in the end, it won't amount to anything. The world is so big, and the countries all belong to the immortal sections. They belong to any immortal sect. It has never changed. Yifeng shook his head. Yin Chuan frowned slightly. Yin Chuan naturally understood where Yifeng's certainty came from. For Yifeng, although he could not enter the world of cultivators, it should not be too difficult for him to gather some information. Yifeng said that the country had always been suppressed by the immortal sects. Yin Chuan was silent for a moment. Could it be that in this world, the dynasty had reached its end? What kind of place was he in? The Lord. Yifeng was puzzled. Yin Chuan came back to his senses. He no longer wanted to dwell on this matter. Instead, he shook his head and said, as you said, the country has always been at the bottom. But why does this kind of government still exist? Yifeng frowned slightly. Because a country has its own uniqueness and a strong vitality that cannot be obliterated. Even if they are at the bottom, they will still be immortal. Yin Chuan said solemnly. So what if it is as you say? Yifeng frowned. Yin Chuan smiled and said, aside from the gate of immortality, what can you see in Yin state? Oh, in the cultivation world, there is the Jiulu Academy. In the Yin state, there is the Imperial College. In the cultivation world, there is the Buddhist and Taoist sections. In the Yin state, there is the Temple of Heaven. In the cultivation world, there is the geomancy of the netherworld. In the Yin state, there is the Diguan to measure the power. Do you think it's related? Yin Chuan smiled. Yifeng's face suddenly turned serious as he stared at Yin Chuan. This was because Yifeng could hear a great ambition in Yin Chuan's tone. This ambition was something Yifeng had never seen before. Yin Chuan's goal was not only as big as the Jiulu Academy, but also the world. Not just the world of mortals, but the world of cultivators as well. That's impossible, Yifeng shouted. Grand Tutor, let's continue. Think about it again. A few days ago, when Meng Rongrong tried to recruit you, why didn't you agree immediately? Yin Chuan smiled. Yifeng narrowed his eyes. I think you have your own considerations. Think about it again. Why do you have those considerations? Yifeng, what exactly do you want? What's the most important to you? Yin Chuan laughed. Let's continue, Yifeng said solemnly. Yifeng did not want to be entangled in this matter. He wanted to use the game of chess to forget those thoughts that he should not have. All right, let's continue. Yin Chuan nodded. 1 month later, wind and thunder rumbled, and the clouds roared. The valley in the Valley of the Star Luo Mountain Manor had already become a mythical place. Countless Go masters waited with surging hearts. Just waiting was enough to express their boundless devotion to the Go Dao. Meng Rongrong, Chong Qing, and the others had already waited for a month in a pavilion by the lake. Chapter 200. Thunder rumbled in the sky, horses neighed in the fog, and an army roared. The tragedy of the battle was on full display. It had been a month, but the game was still not over. Meng Rongrong stared gloomily at the lake shrouded in white fog. Yin Chuan. Meng Rongrong's eyes flashed with irritation. Young mistress, you don't have to worry. Yin Chuan can't beat you. Yifeng isn't a fool. Why would he give up the chance to live forever? That's right, young mistress. How could a game of Go convince Yifeng? The Jiulu Academy students kept comforting Meng Rongrong. Meng Rongrong let out a long sigh. Then she smiled bitterly and said, I thought so too, but I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling. It's as if Yin Chuan's chips are getting higher and higher as the game goes on. Ah, that's impossible. The great scholars of the Julu Academy should be able to do that. Chongqing frowned. Did you see the cloud chess game reflected in the sky? Meng Rongrong asked in a low voice. I saw it, but so what? Yifeng's rhythm is getting smoother. Meng Rongrong said in a low voice. Rhythm? Smoother? It's just that I'm liking this game more and more. Meng Rongrong said in a low voice. Ah, but it's just a game of Go. It doesn't mean anything. Chongqing frowned. I hope so. Meng Rongrong took a deep breath. Miss, you don't have to be so concerned. If Yifeng really doesn't want to enter the Julu Academy, then it's his bad luck. Chongqing advised. No, it's not just Yifeng's problem. There's also Yin Chuan. I'm Meng Rongrong. How can I lose to Yin Chuan? How could he lose to Immortal? You think you can steal the person I want right in front of me? Absolutely not. Meng Rongrong said in a deep voice. Not only did it involve self-esteem, but it also involved the confidence of the past. Meng Rongrong could not lose. Beijing. It was a large restaurant, and behind the restaurant was an extremely elegant courtyard for rent. There were 8 Taoist priests sitting in the courtyard. The leader was none other than Zhu Jiansheng of the Day sect. Zhu Jiansheng looked at the other 7 people and said, Junior brothers, I'll have to trouble you this time. You're welcome, senior brother. As long as you say the word, we'll naturally do our best. One of the Taoist priests smiled. Moreover, I'd like to see how the son of the previous sect leader is doing. Another Taoist priest said, Yeah, it's a pity what happened back then. Otherwise, Yin Chuan wouldn't be in the mortal world for the next few years. He would be the young sect leader of the Day sect. However, I didn't expect Yin Chuan to be so famous after returning to Beijing not long ago. He even knows how to play chess? Huh, that's not all. He made Dan Xingzi suffer so much with his mortal body. Ha ha ha. The group of brothers chatted and laughed. Dan Xingzi is the eldest disciple of King Mai. He used to be high and mighty. I didn't expect Yin Chuan to humiliate him. I heard that he gathered 7 or 8 of his friends to vent their anger on Yin Chuan. Everyone, you have to protect Yin Chuan. Zhu Jiansheng said, Don't worry, senior brother. The previous sect leader, Yin Tao, took good care of us back then. How can we allow others to humiliate our sect leader's son when he was harmed by a traitor? A Taoist priest said solemnly, That's right. Although there are people in the sect who hate Yin Tao, we are very clear about our grudges. We will definitely ensure that Yin Chuan enters the sect safely. Another person said. Chapter 201. Okay. While the 8 of them were talking, a woman in purple walked out slowly from side room. She was tall and wore a gorgeous purple robe. Even her hair was purple, but she was wearing a golden mask on her face, so no one could see her face clearly. The woman walked elegantly and slowly towards them. They didn't notice her at first, but when they saw her, their faces changed. Walala! The 8 of them jumped up from their chairs at the same time and quickly retreated to the side. They stopped when they were about 20 feet away from the woman. When they looked at her, cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Miss Z, why did you come out? They looked at the woman in fear. I'm sorry. I'll be careful next time. The woman sighed. No, it's our fault. Miss Z, please don't take it to heart. We were just talking about Yin Chuan. We were about to tell you. Zhu Jiansheng said immediately. The woman in purple was puzzled. Although Yin Chuan just came back, he has a high reputation in Beijing. He has captured a Qi state expert with his strength state cultivation. Now, he is playing chess in Xinglua Mountain Villa. I heard that they have been playing chess for a month. It's very exciting. Zhu Jiansheng reported from afar. Yes, Miss Z. Although Yin Chuan is just an ordinary person, he is very intelligent. It's not a disgrace for Miss Z to have a fiancé like Yin Chuan. Another person said from afar. Fiancé? How can someone like me be his wife? Miss Z said with a wry smile. Miss Z, please don't think like that. Your marriage was set by Yin Tao and his wife. Uncle Yin Tao will not harm his son. He must have his reasons. Don't think too much. Zhu Jiansheng reported from afar. Miss Z looked at the crowd and shook her head with a wry smile. I've already harmed them. I don't want to harm their son too. No, Miss Z, please don't think like that. The death of Yin Chuan's parents has nothing to do with you. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Zhu Jiansheng shouted. Is that so? Miss Z shook her head. Zhu Jiansheng looked at his 8 fellow disciples and retreated far away in fear. Just like this, they were not convincing at all. Zhu Jiansheng said with a wry smile, Miss Z, you see, it's not appropriate for us to intervene in your marriage. Why don't we wait until we see Yin Chuan? What do you think? Alas, well, I won't make things difficult for you. I'll go back to my room first. You go and see when he's done with his game. After he's done, help me inform him that I want to meet him. Miss Z sighed slightly. Don't worry, Miss Z, Zhu Jiansheng promised. Don't worry, Miss Z. The other 7 junior brothers also responded. Yes. Miss Z nodded and returned to her room. Crack. When the door closed, the 8 Marshall brothers all let out a long sigh. Let's go out for a walk, Zhu Jiansheng said. Good. All the junior brothers shouted in agreement. After leaving the restaurant, the 8 Taoist priests walked on the street in silence for a long time. Miss Z is so kind and has such a good character. Why do I feel scared every time I see her? One of them asked. Miss Z is a jinx. So what if she has a good character? Another person frowned. 6th junior brother. Zhu Jiansheng glared at him. Fine, I was wrong. I won't say any more. 6th junior brother suddenly smiled bitterly. Alas, this marriage was arranged when Marshal Uncle Yin Tao was still alive. I don't know what will happen in the future. Zhu Jiansheng sighed slightly. Senior brother, why did you bring Miss Z here? Another person asked. Do you think I wanted to? That day in the Drunken Immortal restaurant, I heard that Dan Xingzi wanted to deal with Yin Chuan. I immediately scolded him. Who knew that the Drunken Immortal restaurant was Miss Z's property? If she wants to come, would I dare to stop her? Are you going to stop them? Zhu Jiansheng said gloomily. I don't dare to. Forget it. Let Yin Chuan deal with it. He's his fiancée. Why should we worry about her? That's right. The 8 of them walked on the street. Suddenly, in the distant sky, 2 huge bats flew in from outside the city. Dan Xingzi, that guy is here. Zhu Jiansheng's eyes lit up. Chapter 202. Yinjing. Inside the palace, Lu Jin and Hua Guang were currently facing Yin Emperor. Zhao Tianwang, how dare you? Yin Emperor's eyes were filled with anger. Pa! With one palm, the Yin Emperor shattered the tea set on one side. Zhao Tianwang declared himself the emperor and established the state of Zhao. He really has guts. Lu Jin also said solemnly, Hua Guang, when your men went after the Zhao family, did they manage to steal the poisoner's belongings? Yin Emperor suddenly turned his head and looked at Hua Guang. Yes, we managed to get a part of it. However, from the captured Zhao family members, Zhao Tianwang also took a part of it. Hua Guang nodded. Oh, what about it? Yin Emperor's eyes lit up. Hua Guang stared at Yin Emperor and shook his head. Sorry, we'll leave it to the Lord to deal with. Let's wait for the Lord to finish his game. Yin Emperor stared at Hua Guang with a gloomy expression. However, he quickly recovered and smiled. Of course, Yin Emperor, may I ask if the 42 cities in the northern border of the state of Zheng have been handed over? Lu Jin asked. Lu Jin didn't address him as Your Majesty anymore. Yin Emperor also noticed the problem in Lu Jin's words. However, he didn't object. A pigeon reported that the state of Zheng is cooperating. Yin Emperor nodded. That's good. Everything is going according to the Lord's plan. Lu Jin sighed. While the 3 were talking, an angry roar came from the outside. Yin Chuan, you little brat, come out. Thunder rumbled and echoed throughout the palace. The 3 people's faces changed as they walked out of the main hall. At this moment, there were 2 huge bats circling high up in the sky. There were 4 people standing on each of the bats. One of them was the eldest senior brother, who had been captured by the feng shui poison not long ago. He stepped on a bat and hovered in the air. Everyone looked down coldly. Soon he saw Hua Guang. After all, Hua Guang was beside Yin Chuan last time. It's you? Where is Yin Chuan? The green-robed eldest senior brother shouted. I am Yin Emperor. Who are you? Yin Emperor walked to the front. Yin Emperor? It's good that it's you. The state of Zhang's northern border's 42 cities have been handed over to you. Now, release my junior apprentice brother and the state of Zhang's crown prince," shouted the azure-robed eldest apprentice brother. "Release him?" Yindi looked at Huoguang. "No, we are under the Lord's orders to keep them under custody. Unless the Lord gives the order, no one is to be released." Huoguang shouted. "Huh?" Yin Emperor raised an eyebrow. His expression turned ugly. However, Huoguang was only loyal to Yin Chuan. Without Yin Chuan's order, he wouldn't dare to release them now. "What about Yin Chuan?" The azure-robed eldest senior brother shouted. "The Lord is playing chess. Wait for the Lord to finish. The Lord is a man of his word, but no one can give the order without the Lord," Huoguang said solemnly. "Playing chess? Umph. Did something happen to my junior apprentice brothers? Release my junior apprentice brothers, or we will wash Yin capital with blood today," the azure-robed eldest senior brother shouted. "Oh, wash Yin capital with blood? How dare you, Dan Xingzi? Is this King Mai's idea?" A provocative voice sounded. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 8 figures shot into the sky and landed on the roof of a palace in Yin capital. They stood on the roof of the palace and glared at the 8 people on the bat. "Zhuji and Sheng, it's you?" Eldest senior brother Dan Xingzi said coldly. "It's us. Can't you talk nicely? Do you think you're so high up on the bat? Who are you trying to show your arrogance to?" Zhuji and Sheng said disdainfully. "It's Yin Chuan who went back on his word. Zheng has already returned the cities. Why aren't you releasing them?" Dan Xingzi said solemnly. Chapter 203. Did Yin Chuan say he won't let him go? Can't you wait for a game of chess? Zhuji and Sheng said disdainfully. "I don't care. I want to see my junior brother now." Dan Xingzi drew his sword and shouted coldly. "Sheng!" Zhuji and Sheng also drew his Chongqing and said, "Yin Jing is not a place for you to behave atrociously." While the 2 sides were at loggerheads, another purple figure slowly flew up from the distance, flying towards the crowd. "Misty!" Zhuji and Sheng and the others immediately became serious. Dan Xingzi and the others didn't know who this woman was at first, so they still drew their swords and faced her. Retreat." Dan Xingzi's expression changed drastically as he shouted. The 2 bats immediately flew away. After flying far away, Dan Xingzi looked at the woman in purple with a panicked expression. Miss Z, why are you here?" Dan Xingzi said with a fearful expression. "My cultivation isn't as high as yours. What are you afraid of?" Miss Z said calmly. "I wouldn't dare. Were we in front of Miss Z?" Dan Xingzi smiled apologetically. "Since that's the case, I'll say something." Miss Z said calmly. "Please speak, Miss Z." Dan Xingzi said carefully. "You've already waited so many days for your junior brother to be captured. Waiting for Yin Chuan to finish his game shouldn't be a big deal, right?" Miss Z said calmly. "It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal." Dan Xingzi's expression changed. Below, Huoguang looked at the sky strangely. He then whispered to Lu Jin in disdain, "Why does this brat look so despicable?" Lu Jin smiled and sighed. "No matter what, it's best that he didn't disrupt the Lord's plan." Huoguang nodded. "Zhuji and Sheng, where is Yin Chuan playing chess?" Miss Z thought for a moment and asked. "I heard that he's at Xinglua Mountain Villa." Zhuji and Sheng immediately said, "Well, all right, since we're waiting here, let's go and have a look." Miss Z said after thinking for a while. "All right," Zhuji and Sheng replied. "Senior, let me lead you there." Lu Jin immediately stepped forward and said, "Oh, Eunuch Lu? That's good too." Jiao Jiansheng immediately laughed. Another month and a half later, Star Luo Mountain Villa. Within the rolling white fog, Yin Chuan and Yi Feng were playing Go. "Climb a 9-5 again," Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. "Ha!" A piece was placed on the 9-5 position again. "Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty!" Within the cloud sea, Yin Chuan's army cheered loudly. Their powerful aura pressed down on the cloud sea territory controlled by Yi Feng. "It's the 9-5 again?" Yi Feng said with a gloomy face. This time, the 9-5 was different from the previous time. At least, wasn't like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, but it was still slightly stronger. Yifeng held a white piece between his index and middle fingers and was about to place it down. However, he couldn't place it down. It was as if there was a huge force forcing him not to place it down. Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor! The surrounding noise made Yifeng frown. Phew! Yifeng placed the white piece back into the bowl and stopped placing it down. Now that we've played this game of chess, you should know what you're thinking. Yin Chuan smiled. Looking at Yin Chuan, Yifeng had a complicated look in his eyes. He gently shook his head and said, "What guarantee do you have? What you said is unprecedented. How can I believe you?" Chapter 204. Think about your life. You have such high intelligence. You love learning, but you're not a fool. Otherwise, you would have written books and entered the Hamlin Academy. But you did not. You were just a grand tutor. Do you like power? I think that is not the case. As the grand tutor, you arranged the chess pieces of a yin state and doubled the size of the yin state's territory. Double. That's not just one and plundering. You also have to consider the patriarchs of the immortal sects in the surrounding countries. Not only did you fight against 4 countries, you also used your intelligence to fight against 5 people from the immortal sects that didn't even notice. Or perhaps it's because of your methods that they didn't dare to do anything about it. Immortals? So what if they are immortals? You enjoy it. You like to set up the world. You like to manipulate chess pieces to set up a game. Yin Chuan stared at Yifeng. I like it, but it is not enough. You are not enough to convince me. Yifeng stared at Yin Chuan. Not enough? Then I will give you another reason why you must stay and help me. Yin Chuan smiled. Oh, Chun Fei Tian. Yin Chuan smiled. Yifeng's eyes narrowed. I heard from Lu Jin that Yilin accidentally mentioned that you have a flying sky hall. In order to commemorate your dead wife, all the decorations in the hall are arranged in pairs. You must care a lot about this Chun Fei Tian. Yin Chuan laughed. So what if I do? Yifeng said in a low voice. Clearly, he did not like others talking about Chun Fei Tian. That is easy. The Julu Academy is only an academy in the Yang realm. You actually want to join a sect that cultivates feng shui, because a powerful feng shui master can even travel between the 2 realms. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Travel between the 2 realms? Really? Yifeng's expression was filled with anticipation. Traveling between the 2 realms is indeed possible, but there is a prerequisite. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Oh, after a person dies, they may not necessarily turn into a ghost and enter the underworld. There's a greater chance that their soul will scatter, ending everything once and for all. Do you understand? Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. I don't care. If I die in this life, then so be it. If I don't die, then I will definitely make a trip to the underworld. Yifeng said solemnly. Haha, you're oversimplifying things. It's not easy for a feng shui master to travel between the 2 realms, let alone bringing someone else along. Are you suitable to be a feng shui master? Yin Chuan asked with a smile. Yifeng frowned. The Julu Academy may not be able to give you what you want, but I can. As long as Chun Fei Tian turns into a ghost, I will send you to the netherworld one day. Because in my celestial empire, all rivers flow into the sea. All lands under the heavens belong to the emperor, and all lands on the shores of the land belong to the emperor. A feng shui master must also be a subject. If you help me conquer this vast land, a large number of feng shui masters will help you open up the path of yin and yang. My celestial empire can even extend to the netherworld, commanding thousands of ghosts, and help you find Chun Fei Tian. What do you think? Yin Chuan said again. Yifeng stared at Yin Chuan in shock. How can I believe you? Yifeng's expression changed. Seeing Yifeng's change in expression, Yin Chuan knew that he was about to succeed. After 2 months of hard work, he was finally about to convince Yifeng. Otherwise, Yifeng's expression would still be unchanged. Yin Chuan smiled faintly, holding the chessboard in his hand. Ha! He flipped the chessboard over. The chess pieces immediately scattered on the ground. Rumble. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, and a large number of lightning bolts struck down. The rolling lightning caused the lake water to splash in all directions, and the mist slowly dissipated under the lightning. At the side, Yilin stared at the chessboard with wide eyes. The game isn't over yet, Yilin shouted. However, Yifeng and Yinchuan didn't care. It was just a game of chess, so what if it was over? The rolling mist dissipated, slowly revealing the scenery by the lake. At this moment, there were thousands of people surrounding the small lake. A group of chess masters, Meng Rongrong 6, the Dugu Sword Emperor, Yin Wudi, Yin Emperor, Hua Guang, Lu Jin, Dan Xingzi, Zhujin Shengzi, and misty. Behind Hua Guang, there were nearly 3,000 members of the embroidered uniform army. After leaving for more than 2 months, the 3,000 members of the embroidered uniform army had all returned. Greetings, my king. The 3,000 members of the embroidered uniform army bowed respectfully. At the side, Yin Emperor's expression changed. King? Not the Lord? He hadn't abdicated yet. Yin Emperor was infuriated, but he suppressed the anger in his heart. How did it go? Yin Chuan placed his hand behind his back and looked at the 3,000 embroidered uniform army. Ka. Nearly 500 embroidered uniform army soldiers each took out a box from behind them. The box slowly opened, revealing bloody human heads inside. The heads of the Chu Kingdom's emperor, royalty, and officials are here. The heads of the Han Kingdom's emperor, royalty, and officials are here. The heads of the Wei Kingdom's emperor, royalty, and officials are here. The group of embroidered uniform army soldiers reported. What? Yin Emperor exclaimed immediately. The heads of the emperor, royalty, and officials are here. Yin Emperor knew that the embroidered uniform army had gone out on a mission and had just returned, but no one expected them to do such a thing. Was this considered the destruction of the 3 dynasties? The 3 dynasties that were as famous as the Yin state were all destroyed? Yin Emperor could not believe it. However, Yin Emperor was too familiar with the portraits of these heads. Yin Emperor had already overestimated the might of the embroidered uniform army. However, he did not expect the embroidered uniform army to be so terrifying. In the past 2 months, they actually managed to charge into the 3 dynasties' capitals and kill the people with the highest authority. On the other side, Dan Xingzi also looked at the heads in shock. At the same time, he looked at Yin Chuan and felt a chill. Yin Chuan's insults from the past were still vivid in his mind. He is not insulting me. Is he telling the truth? Dan Xingzi felt a chill in his heart. These 500 people decided the military affairs of the 3 dynasties. Over the years, they caused the deaths of nearly 500,000 soldiers and soldiers of the Yin state. Now they're all dead. Do you think you could trust me now? Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yifeng slightly closed his eyes as he faced everyone, as if immersed in a final mental struggle. Yifeng, since the game of Go is over, you should give me an answer, Meng Rongrong said sullenly. Chapter 205. Yifeng, since the game is over, you should give me an answer, Meng Rongrong said in a low voice. Meng Rongrong stepped forward. In the past 2 months, Meng Rongrong had experienced a sense of defeat that she had never felt before. From absolute confidence in the beginning, to irritation in her heart, to worry about her gains and losses. Meng Rongrong was also a strong chess player. Although she might not be better than Yin Chuan and Yifeng, she could at least understand the game. As the chess pieces were placed, Meng Rongrong seemed to have noticed the change in Yifeng's mentality. Change. Was the Jiulu Academy really that good? Could it not be better than a tiny Yin state? What kind of joke was this? Yifeng still had his eyes closed, but Yin Chuan looked at Meng Rongrong. Yin Chuan did not speak. He only smiled slightly, but this smile was like a slap to Meng Rongrong's face. Oomph. Meng Rongrong snorted and ignored Yin Chuan. At this moment, Yifeng's eyes slowly opened. Thank you for your kindness, senior. This old one is old and does not want to suffer anymore. I just want to live out my remaining years in peace. Yifeng said. His voice was calm, revealing his inner peace. What? Yifeng, what did you say? Think carefully. Chongqing exclaimed. Are you crazy? Do you really want to die? Meng Rongrong had a premonition, but Chongqing and the other four were not prepared. They were stunned by Yi Feng's words. Grandpa, what are you doing? They want to help you become an immortal. Why don't you? Behind him, Elin suddenly exclaimed. Grandpa has his own plans when he does things. Don't interrupt, Yifeng said indifferently. But, Elin was going crazy. All right, Grandpa isn't as smart as you, Yifeng said calmly. Oh. Elin calmed down immediately. That's right, in the Yi family. Who would dare to say that they were smarter than Yifeng? Although Elin had thousands of ideas in his heart, compared to his grandfather's wisdom, he could forget about it. What benefits did Yin Xuan give you? Or rather, how did he force you? Meng Rongrong was still unwilling to give up. Yin Xuan smiled. Miss Meng, you're framing me. Shut up, Meng Rongrong scolded. Meng Rongrong was defeated for the first time in her life. Meng Rongrong could not believe it and was unwilling to accept it. Shut up. Miss Meng, don't forget what you said before. You're the young mistress of the Julu Academy. Do you need me to teach you the word trust? Yin Xuan shouted. You. Meng Rongrong was speechless at Yin Xuan's words. Back then, she had personally promised Yin Xuan that, as long as Yifeng was unwilling to go to the Julu Academy, she would not force him. But now, Yifeng also shook his head. Senior, this is my own idea. I'm sorry. Did you hear that? Yin Xuan said in a low voice. Meng Rongrong's expression changed. Even though she was wearing a bamboo hat, from her clenched fists, one could see the indignation in her heart. Let's go, Meng Rongrong said in a low voice. Yes, Chongqing and the others replied. With a wave of her sleeve, Meng Rongrong led the five of them into the sky. As they flew, Meng Rongrong turned her head and gave Yin Xuan a deep look, deeply engraving this hateful fellow into her memory. Then, she led the five of them away. After Meng Rongrong left, Dan Qingzi called out. Yin Xuan, where's my junior apprentice brother? Dan Qingzi called out. As soon as Dan Qingzi called out, his 7 friends also stepped forward, looking as if they were about to confront Yin Xuan. Dan Qingzi and the others stepped forward. Zhu Jianxing also stepped forward with his 7 junior apprentice brothers, guarding against Dan Qingzi's sudden attack. Chapter 206. Yin Xuan glanced at Dan Qingzi, then turned to Yin Emperor. Yin Xiuyu, have you handed over the 42 cities? Yin Xuan asked. Yes. Yin Emperor nodded. Yin Xuan nodded. Did you hear that? Zheng has kept its promise. Let them go. Dan Qingzi shouted. Huo Guang, let them go. Yin Xuan didn't press the issue. Yes, I brought them here. I'll bring them out immediately. Huo Guang answered. With a wave of his hand, the embroidered uniformed soldiers quickly walked out of the valley. Soon, the 3 prison carriages were pulled into the valley. Prison carriages? Dan Qingzi recognized them at a glance. Xing. He quickly lifted the curtains of the prison carriages, revealing the 3 people inside. Lu Gang, 3rd senior brother, and the Crown Prince of Zheng. Lu Gang and the Crown Prince of Zheng were handcuffed and shackled. They didn't seem to have suffered much. The only one who had suffered was the 3rd senior brother. His shoulder blade had been pierced, and he couldn't move at all. 1st senior brother, Lu Gang cried out in surprise. Senior, the Crown Prince of Zheng said excitedly. 1st senior brother, save me, save me. The 3rd senior brother was so emotional that tears were coming out his eyes. This period of imprisonment was a darkness that 3rd senior brother had never experienced in his life. Xing, Xing, Xing. Dan Qingzi's friends stabbed their swords, instantly tearing the cage apart. 1st senior brother, quick, take me away. The 3rd senior brother grabbed Dan Qingzi after being saved. He wasn't in the mood for revenge, only the fear of leaving this place as soon as possible. His mind seemed to be in a daze. Your junior brother is too cowardly. Piercing his shoulder blade will only hurt for a while. It's not like we tortured him. Look at how scared he is. Also, I've already sent someone to inform the prison to release the others. My Yin state will prepare horses and rations for them to return to their countries. Huo Guang said disdainfully. That's not torture. Dan Qingzi shouted angrily. Yin Chuan said indifferently. Take your men and leave. You, Yin Chuan, you bastard. Your entire family will die a horrible death. Dan Qingzi cursed. Yin Chuan's eyes turned cold and murderous. Pa! Suddenly, a purple light flashed, and a crisp sound rang out from Dan Qingzi's face. A slap landed on Dan Qingzi's face. It was so powerful that half of Dan Qingzi's face swelled up. Who is it? Dan Qingzi was so anxious that he immediately roared in the direction of the slap. Turning his head, he happened to see a purple-robed woman wearing a golden mask, revealing a pair of eyes that were staring coldly at him. At first, he was anxious, but in an instant, he felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. Dan Qingzi's face trembled as he looked at the woman in fear. Miss Z, why did you hit me? Dan Qingzi, if I hear you curse Yin Chuan again, I'll take your life. The woman in purple said coldly. Dan Qingzi opened his mouth in shock. Dan Qingzi did not understand why Miss Z was protecting Yin Chuan. However, today, Dan Qingzi once again experienced the grievance of that day. Why? Why are you protecting him? Dan Qingzi said resentfully. There's no reason. Now, take your men and scram. The woman in purple said coldly. I. Dan Qingzi was at a loss for words. At this moment, Dan Qingzi did not know what to say. This matter was too inexplicable. The woman in purple walked towards Dan Qingzi step by step. As she approached, the expressions of Dan Qingzi's friends changed drastically, and they quickly retreated. Leaving Dan Qingzi alone was like a lone boat on the ocean, facing a storm. Chapter 207. She didn't give off any aura as she walked closer. Miss Z, don't come any closer. I know I was wrong. We'll leave immediately. Dan Qingzi shouted. Miss Z stopped when she heard Dan Qingzi shout. Let's go. Dan Qingzi felt quite unwilling as he led everyone out. He walked incredibly quickly, grabbing 3 people and leaping out of the valley. Before he left, he didn't forget to glare at Yin Chuan with hatred. Yin Chuan just smiled at this look and turned to look at Miss Z in surprise. She didn't give off any killing intent or aura. Dan Qingzi and the others were scared out of their wits. Also, Zhu Jiansheng and the others seemed to know Miss Z, but they were also avoiding her. What were they afraid of? Yin Chuan looked at Miss Z strangely, then turned to the Dugu, Sword Emperor, and Yin Wudi. Have you paid your respects to the Dugu, Sword Emperor? Yin Chuan smiled. Yes, I have. I feel much better now. This time I brought Woody back to say goodbye. Everyone else has said their goodbyes. You're the only one left. I didn't expect to see such a big game of chess before leaving. Dugu Jianwang said with a smile. Congratulations, you've put down one of your worries. Yin Chuan smiled. The Dugu, Sword Emperor nodded. Yes, I put down some of my worries. Don't worry, I'll do what I promised you. I'll bring Woody back to the Dugu family soon. Yin Chuan nodded and turned to Yin Wudi. Uncle Wang, thank you. Yin Wudi said sincerely. Lu Jin, Yin Chuan called. Yes. Lu Jin quickly took out a bag. She handed it to Yin Wudi. Puzzled, Yin Wudi took the bundle and gently opened it. There were 50 books inside. Books? Yin Wudi was slightly taken aback. These are the 50 most authentic books on the art of war in the Yin state. I approve of you following the Dugu, Sword Emperor, to learn the art of the sword. However, I also have a request for you. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Uncle Wang, please speak. I don't want you to become a dead sword. I want you to become a divine sword with wisdom and thoughts. I've read these 50 books. They contain a lot of military tactics and psychological warfare. They won't be of much help to your cultivation, but they will definitely be beneficial to your intelligence. My request is that you memorize all of these 50 books. Remember, understand them thoroughly. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Yin Wudi looked at the 50 books. His expression changed. Yin Wudi could feel Yin Chuan's kindness. It was a kindness that was truly for his own good. After taking a deep breath, Yin Wudi bowed deeply to Yin Chuan. Uncle Wang, don't worry. I will remember Uncle Wang's words. Yin Wudi said solemnly. Yin Emperor's expression was complicated. Even his son didn't seem to respect him that much. All right, you can go now. Yin Chuan nodded in satisfaction. Dugu Sword Emperor, we'll meet again. Yin Chuan said with a smile. We'll meet again. The Dugu Sword Emperor nodded. He waved his sleeves and took Yin Wudi to the sky. They disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a small boat arrived at the island in the middle of the lake. Yin Chuan, Yi Feng, and Yi Lin boarded the small boat and slowly sailed to the shore. They reached the shore. Yin Chuan, did you ask the Grand Tutor to come out of seclusion? Yin Emperor stepped forward and asked with a smile. Yi Feng smiled and said, Yin Emperor, you must be joking. I'm old. How can I come out of seclusion? Yin Emperor was slightly stunned. Yi Feng and I only played a game of chess. Yin Xiuyu, don't think too much. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yin Emperor was stunned again. Then, Yin Emperor felt depressed. Even a fool could see that Yi Feng gave up on entering the Immortal sect to help Yin Chuan. Now, he actually said that he didn't want to enter the Yin state. I've used up too much energy these days. I need to go back and rest. Goodbye, Yi Feng said with a smile. As he spoke, Yi Feng and Yi Lin walked into the depths of the valley with the help of a group of household servants. They left behind an embarrassed Yin Emperor. Chapter 208. Yin Xiuyu. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yin Emperor looked at Yin Chuan. Chu State, Wei State, and Korea State are without a leader at this moment. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yin Emperor suddenly widened his eyes and looked at Yin Chuan in surprise. Previously, he was only surprised by the strength of the embroidered uniform army. Now, Yin Emperor understood what Yin Chuan meant. Without a leader, the three kingdoms were like dragons without a leader. It was the best time to attack cities and seize territory. I understand, huh? Yin Emperor suddenly laughed. I'll have to trouble you from now on. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Don't worry, I'll do my best and wait for your return. Okay. Yin Chuan nodded. Is the Grand Preceptor really not coming out? If he comes out, he will definitely help our Yin state to conquer the three countries faster. Yin Emperor said after thinking for a while. No need, the Grand Preceptor is too old. Let's not disturb him anymore. Yin Chuan shook his head. All right, Yin Emperor nodded. I've just finished a game of chess. I'll rest here for a while. Before going to Day's sect, I'll go to Yin Jing to say goodbye to you. Yin Chuan looked at Yin Emperor and said, Okay, then I'll go back and hold a court meeting. Yin Emperor nodded. After sending off Yin Emperor, Yin Chuan looked at the 8 people of the Day sect and the woman in purple again. Yin Chuan, you're amazing. I didn't expect you to make such a big move in this game of chess. Ha ha! Zhu Jianxing suddenly laughed. Not bad. I've never seen anything like this before. One of Zhu Jianxing's junior brothers laughed. These are? Yin Chuan looked at the crowd. Them? He's my junior brother. Wherever he goes, there's 7 of us. The 7 swordsmen of the Day sect. This is the great swordsman, the second swordsman, the third swordsman, the 7 swordsmen. Zhu Jianxing said with a smile. Senior brother. The 7 of them immediately blushed. Ha ha ha, didn't you like this name? Just call me that, it's fine. Anyway, you're used to being called that. Zhu Jianxing laughed. The 7 of them felt helpless, but from their expressions, there was a sense of complacency. Yin Chuan was slightly startled. Sure enough, birds of a feather flocked together. Zhu Jianxing was a free and unrestrained person, but the 7 swordsmen were very narcissistic. Greetings, 7 swordsmen. Yin Chuan said with a smile. You're welcome, you're welcome. The 7 of them exchanged pleasantries. And this is? Yin Chuan looked at the purple-clothed woman with a golden mask. Miss Z? Zhu Jianxing looked at Yin Chuan with a strange expression. Miss Z spoke first. I'll go back to my residence in Yinjing first. Yin Chuan, after you've rested, come and see me. I have something to tell you. With that, Miss Z turned around and walked out of the valley. Yin Chuan was puzzled. Zhu Jianxing and the others watched Miss Z leave, then looked at Yin Chuan with a strange expression. What's wrong? Who is she? Yin Chuan asked with a puzzled expression. No way, Yin Chuan. Have you really forgotten? She's your wife. Zhu Jiansheng said with a strange expression. Ah, ah. Yin Chuan, who had always been calm, was also confused by the question. What was going on? Wife. It's normal that Dan Xingzi doesn't know. It's also normal that we don't know. After all, she has always been very mysterious and never went to the day sect. But we all know that you have a fiancé, no, a child bride. It seems that when you were young, your parents arranged this marriage for you. Don't you remember? Zhu Jiansheng said with a strange expression. That's right. I only found out 2 months ago that Miss Z is actually your fiancé. Awesome. The great swordsman gloated. Yes, Junior Yin Chuan. Tell me, what were your thoughts when you had a wife when you were young? Second swordsman laughed. Chapter 209. Let's not talk about your childhood. What are your thoughts now? The 5 swordsmen laughed. The group of people from the Immortal sect was now asking Yin Chuan curiously. Hua Guang, Lu Jin, and the others had strange expressions on their faces. Go, don't disturb the Lord. Hua Guang ordered the embroidered uniform army to leave. At the same time, he asked the chess masters to leave. Yin Chuan was also confused. Fiancé. After taking a deep breath, Yin Chuan said, I have forgotten most of my memories. Can you help me recall? Yes, you have soulless syndrome. The 4 swordsmen raised their eyebrows. Sai, what a pity. This is the first time I've seen someone with a child bride. I really want to know how he feels. The 7 swordsmen said regretfully. Black lines appeared on Yin Chuan's forehead. This group of people were quite sanctimonious when they didn't open their mouths. But now that they opened their mouths, why? All right, stop fooling around. Zhu Jiansheng shouted. Oh, the 7 people nodded. Yin Chuan, you really don't remember? I don't remember. Yin Chuan nodded. Yes, you should have been very young back then. Your mother should have arranged this marriage for you. We all heard a little about it, but we didn't know who it was. 2 months ago, I heard that Dan Xingzi was going to bring people to make trouble for you at the drunken Immortal restaurant. I scolded him and then gathered these 7 junior brothers to protect you in advance. Zhu Jiansheng said solemnly. Oh, thank you very much. Yin Chuan nodded. Who knew that Miss Z would find out about that quarrel? Later on, she came to find me and showed me a certificate that your father had left behind. She asked me to bring her to see you. Zhu Jiansheng said solemnly. Oh, when I returned to the sect, I met the sect leader and all the uncles in the sect. They confirmed that Miss Z is indeed your fiancé. Fiancé? Yin Chuan had a strange expression on his face. Yes. Zhu Jiansheng nodded solemnly. When I saw you before, you were all afraid of her. Why? Yin Chuan asked curiously. The 7 swordsmen's expressions changed almost at the same time. What's wrong? Yin Chuan asked again. Zhu Jiansheng smiled bitterly. Looking at Yin Chuan, he seemed to be unable to say anything. He thought, then sighed. Well, all right, so be it. I'll tell you, but this is just my personal opinion. You must not tell Miss Z. Zhu Jiansheng laughed bitterly. Yes. Yin Chuan nodded. No one knows what Miss Z's full name is. We only know that she's called Miss Z and lives in Carefree City. Carefree City is similar to a city in the mortal world, but it's many times stronger. There are many shops opened by cultivators in the city. The sky-shaking bow, sun-shooting arrows, sky-piercing spear, etc. that you want are all bought by me in Carefree City. Zhu Jiansheng explained. Carefree City? Yes, continue. Miss Z has been living in Carefree City for more than 10 years. I've never heard of any power behind her, but in the entire Carefree City, no one dares to offend her. Zhu Jiansheng said. Oh, why? She's... Zhu Jiansheng looked awkward, as if he couldn't say it. Say it, it's fine. I won't blame you. Yin Chuan shook his head. Yes, Miss Z's cultivation isn't high, but no one dares to go near her, because whoever goes near her will be unlucky. No one could tell why. Zhu Jiansheng said strangely. Chapter 210. Oh, for example, Dan Xingzi is also a lecher. Once he saw Miss Z. She was wearing a mask, but Dan Xingzi saw that her figure was better, so he recklessly approached her. Just when he was about 10 feet away from Miss Z, suddenly, Zhu Jiansheng's eyes widened. "What's wrong?" Yin Chuan asked curiously. A huge hammer suddenly fell from the sky and hit Dan Xingzi's head. You don't know how tragic that scene was. A large part of Dan Xingzi's scalp was smashed off, and his face was badly mutilated. Half of his body was smashed into the ground, and he was on the verge of death. It was a fight between two experts, and Dan Xingzi was unlucky enough to be hit by it. Zhu Jiansheng said. Yin Chuan asked curiously. That's not all. Anyone who gets close to Miss Z, regardless of whether they have good intentions or bad intentions, doesn't have a good ending. Truly, they are all undeserved disasters, inexplicable disasters. Zhou Jianxing said. Such a thing happened? Is it a coincidence? Yin Chuan frowned. Coincidence? It's a coincidence, but it's all a coincidence. It happens 100 times a year. Even if one doesn't get unlucky on the spot, it won't be long before they get unlucky. It's too strange. The three swordsmen trembled. Is there such a thing? Of course, it happened to me once. That day, I bought a bottle of elixirs in a shop. At that time, I saw the shop assistants hiding from me in fear. I didn't know what was going on until I turned my head and realized that they weren't hiding from me, but from Miss Z, because someone concluded that as long as they stayed 2 feet away from Miss Z, they wouldn't be affected, but I was only 10 feet away from her. Do you know what 10 feet is? Cold sweat appeared on the three swordsmen's forehead. 10 feet? What happened after that? Everyone looked at the three swordsmen. I was fine at that time, but a month later, my disaster came. The three swordsmen said with a sad face. What disaster? I spent 10 years of my savings to buy 3 bottles of pills, but they're all fakes. My long sword made of mysterious platinum was broken when I was killing a trash demon. I was also involved in a fight between 2 immortal state experts for no reason. I was chased by the 2 immortal state experts and got lost in the territory of an immortal state demonic beast. That demonic beast made me. That's right. That's why I'm not a human anymore. The most hateful thing is that my lover of 80 years actually eloped with a kid in the essence stage. My God, that kid is ugly, poor, and useless. She's blind. The three swordsmen recall with a face full of grief and hatred. Zhu Jiansheng and the others looked at them with pity. The three swordsmen were too pitiful. Yin Chuan had a strange expression on his face as he said, Maybe it's a coincidence. What coincidence? I'm not the only one. Many people have the same experience. Wherever Miss Z goes, it's like a big explosion, blowing up everyone. The three swordsmen shook their heads and said, Yes, that's why Dan Xingzi was so scared when he saw Miss Z. The great swordsman said, I heard that Miss Z is the reincarnation of a jinx. I've heard that Miss Z is a cursed loner. I heard that Miss Z is the reincarnation of a jinx. Everyone was talking about Miss Z in fear. That's enough. Yin Chuan frowned. Everyone suddenly became quiet and looked at Yin Chuan. No matter what, Miss Z is my fiancée. Let's end the introduction here. Yin Chuan shook his head and said, Okay. Everyone nodded and stopped talking. Yin Chuan, I know it's wrong to talk about someone's fiancée behind their back, but what we said is true. She's really strange. I just want to remind you. Zhu Jiansheng said seriously. Okay, I know. Yin Chuan nodded. Chapter 211. After seeing off Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen, Yin Chuan stood at the entrance of the valley and frowned as if he was thinking about Miss Z. Lu Jin and He Guang once again came to visit Gu Zhonggu's residence in the valley. Zhao family. Zhao Tianwang has established a country and ascended to the throne? Yin Chuan asked in a deep voice. He Guang nodded. Yes, poisoner's belongings. They split up and took them away. We got half of it, and the other half was taken away by Zhao Tianwang. We were originally going to chase after them, but after thinking about it, we decided to let the king make the decision. Well done. Since he's going, he's going. Yin Chuan smiled. Don't chase after them. He Guang was slightly stunned. Chu, Han, and Wei have been destroyed. I was originally worried that the Yin state and Zheng state would fight each other in the end and give up on the Great Land. Now that the three new states of Yin, Zhao, and Zheng have been established, there will be a lot of work ahead, Yin Chuan said with a smile. Oh, that's right. Hua Guang immediately understood. Yin Chuan nodded with satisfaction. Hua Guang finally understood. My king, we have obtained 3 items from Poisoner's relics. Your Majesty, please take a look, Hua Guang immediately said. Then he placed 3 plates covered by curtains in front of him in front of Yin Chuan. When the curtain was lifted, 3 items were revealed. The first plate was a silver compass. The needle was trembling slightly. There were 18 circles on the compass, and each circle was independent of each other. It was as if they could all rotate. Silver compass? Looks like Poisoner's attainments in feng shui are pretty good, Yin Chuan said solemnly. On the second plate was a small black ball. Astral fog? King, we've seen the compass before. What is this fog? Hua Guang asked curiously. Do you remember Ding Wugu's protective shield? Yin Chuan smiled. Of course I remember. Back then, he smashed a small ball, and then a large amount of black gas covered himself. No matter how he shot arrows, we couldn't get inside. It was as if there was a wall of gas blocking us. Could this be it? Hua Guang's eyes lit up. That's right, this is it. However, this is much more advanced than Ding Wugu's astral fog, Yin Chuan said with a smile. At least this trip was worth it, Hua Guang said with a smile. On the last plate was a green flower. Its petals were extremely large and emitted a faint green light. This is the blue-faced flower. It's a type of food for practitioners. Don't be fooled by its small size. If you eat it, it's equivalent to eating a Qi Jing demonic beast. Yin Chuan smiled. Qi state demonic beast? Green-faced flower? Hua Guang asked in surprise. Yin Chuan said, leave this flower for Yifeng. When we reach the cultivation world, we'll have plenty to eat. Everything is up to the king. 2 days later, in the middle valley of the Star Luo Villa, in the pavilion by the lake, Yin Chuan sat in front of a chessboard and drank tea. Lu Jin and Hua Guang stood behind him. Yilin looked outside the pavilion nervously. Outside the pavilion, Yifeng's body was covered in a layer of blue stellar energy. He spread out his arms and sensed his surroundings. In the sky, a dark cloud was facing Yifeng. Boom, boom, boom. Bolts of lightning struck down from the dark clouds, bombarding Yifeng. However, the green aura around Yifeng's body blocked the impact of the lightning again and again. Boom. After the 9th thunder, the last bolt of heavenly thunder struck down. The dark clouds in the sky slowly dispersed. The green gangqi around Yifeng had already disappeared. He stood there motionlessly, as if he was comprehending the experience of this tribulation. First heavens, lightning tribulation. Past? Grandpa is in the essence realm. Grandpa is in the essence realm. Yilin trembled in surprise. Chapter 2:12. Yilin understood that once Yifeng became powerful, the Yi family would rise as well. Yi family? The head of a cultivation family? Yilin was so excited that he couldn't control himself. Phew! After a while, Yifeng let out a long breath and slowly opened his eyes. Grandpa, there's a small tuft of black hair in your white hair, Yilin said happily. Yifeng's heart was also surging. The essence realm? Was it really the essence realm? This is just the beginning. It won't be long before your white hair turns black and your wrinkles disappear, Yin Chuan said with a smile. Taking a deep breath, Yifeng stepped into the pavilion. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yifeng bowed solemnly. You deserve it. I happen to have one too. Otherwise, I would have been embarrassed to persuade you, Yin Chuan said with a smile and gestured for Yifeng to sit down. Yifeng sat down slowly and said, I guess that Your Majesty must have something that can help me break through. Yin Chuan smiled and said, I'm going to join the Day sect soon. I'll leave the world to you. To what extent does Your Majesty need me to do? Yifeng looked at the chessboard in front of him and asked calmly. Chu, Han, and Wei. Without a leader, the 3 countries will rise up and become warlords. It will be a period of great chaos. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. That's right. Although Zheng has lost 42 cities, the three countries will have greater opportunities because they have no leader. Therefore, we don't have to worry about Zheng for the time being. As for the new Zhao country, it will be expanding its territory and fighting everywhere. The Yin state will be the same. It will be an era of war when the three countries rise up and fight everywhere. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. That's right. My thoughts are the same as your Majesty's. Yifeng nodded. You don't have to participate in the politics of the three countries, but you have to participate in all of their affairs. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Oh, your disciples and old men are all over the world. What you need to do right now is to place your disciples and old men in important positions in the major cities of the three kingdoms like a game of chess. It doesn't matter whether they are rebellious, treacherous, loyal, or treacherous, as long as they occupy all the important positions and wait for my return. When we return, what I want is to unify the mortal world in this region in the shortest time possible, like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. It's the entirety of this region. Yin Chuan said solemnly. You want to unify the 5 nations? Yilin asked in surprise. Liner, don't interrupt. Yifeng said solemnly. Oh. Yilin still looked at Yin Chuan in surprise. 5 countries? Yin Chuan's appetite was too big. I'll leave this green-faced flower for you to eat. Eat it one slice at a time. Also, in the years to come, I'll send people to deliver you everything you need in the world of cultivation. Records, medicinal pills, magical treasures, demonic beasts, techniques, everything you need. Count it as your salary. Yin Chuan said. Yes. Yifeng stood up and bowed solemnly. Lastly, I want to emphasize one more thing. Yin Chuan said solemnly. In the entire 3 kingdoms, you are the most important. When things are impossible, you can abandon everything. As long as you are fine, we can start over again. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Yifeng looked solemnly at Yin Chuan and said emotionally, I understand. It's good that you understand. We're leaving. Take care. Yin Chuan stood up and said, The world of cultivation is filled with countless obstacles. King, take care. Yifeng said, Don't worry. I'm more familiar with the world of cultivation. Yin Chuan smiled. As they spoke, the group walked out of the valley under Yifeng's escort. Chapter 213. Outside the valley, 3,000 members of the Brocade E-Army were waiting respectfully. Yin Chuan mounted his horse. Let's go. Giddy up. Giddy up. Giddy up. Giddy up. Yin Chuan led the cavalry and rode away, stirring up a cloud of dust. At the entrance of the valley, Yifeng bowed solemnly to the departing troops. When my king returns, the 3 countries will be united, Yifeng said to himself. In a restaurant in Yinjing, all the guests were asked to leave. The Brocade E-Army was guarding the place, making it a forbidden area. In the restaurant, Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen looked at Yin Chuan. Miss Z is waiting for you in the back courtyard, the great swordsman said. Okay. Yin Chuan nodded and was about to step in. Remember, 2 feet. You must be 2 feet away from her. Zhu Jiansheng emphasized again. Yin Chuan smiled faintly and walked into the inner courtyard. In the small courtyard, Miss Z, who was wearing a golden mask, sat quietly at a stone table. On the stone table, there was a brush, ink, paper, and an inkstone, as well as a pot of wine and 2 small cups. The mouth of the mask seemed to be able to open and close automatically. Even with the mask, Miss Z could drink the wine alone. He was drinking wine alone, as if he was thinking about something. Yin Chuan had already arrived at the small courtyard. He stood at the door and looked at Miss Z quietly. Looking at Miss Z drinking alone, Yin Chuan felt a sense of loneliness. The loneliness emitted from Miss Z. Phew! Miss Z seemed to think of something regrettable and sighed slightly. With this sigh, Miss Z also noticed Yin Chuan. She saw that Yin Chuan was standing at the door and did not come over. Her eyes, which were exposed by the mask, revealed a complicated look. In the end, no one could avoid the 2 feet barrier. Even Yin Chuan was standing 2 feet away. Miss Z smiled bitterly. You're here? Miss Z's voice was slightly bitter. I'm here. Yin Chuan nodded and stepped forward. He walked towards the stone table. What are you doing? Miss Z glared at him. Yin Chuan didn't say anything and just continued to walk forward. Had he stepped into the range of 20 feet? Don't come over, don't come over. Miss Z exclaimed and quickly stood up. Sit down. I'm already within 20 feet. Yin Chuan said with a smile. How can you still laugh? Miss Z shouted angrily. When Yin Chuan was 2 zhang away, he hoped that Yin Chuan would be able to step into the 2 zhang range. But when Yin Chuan really did step into the 2 zhang range, he hated that he couldn't let Yin Chuan quickly retreat 2 zhang away. However, Yin Chuan did not back down. Step by step, he walked to the stone table. Sit down, don't stare at me. Yin Chuan laughed. Didn't Zhu Jiansheng and the others tell you about me? Miss Z was confused. I, Yin Chuan, have great fortune. How can anything happen to me? Yin Chuan made a gesture of inviting her to sit down again. No, you don't understand. This is fate. No one can escape from it. Miss Z sat down bitterly. Speaking of which, I can't remember a lot of things before last year, including my parents and you. Yin Chuan said. I know, you have lost your soul. Your mother once asked an expert to examine you. The problem comes from your soul, not from the invasion of evil. After a long time, you will recover one day. Miss Z nodded and said, Oh. Yin Chuan looked at Miss Z curiously. As for me, you definitely don't remember. We only met once. At that time, you were only 1 year old, and I was 10. I remember you, but you can't remember me. At that time, you were... Miss Z recalled with a sweet voice. Yin Chuan smiled quietly. Miss Z seemed to find that her thoughts were wandering. She immediately came back to her senses and stared at Yin Chuan in silence. Why didn't you say anything? Yin Chuan, Zhu Jiansheng, and the others should have told you about my evil. It was you and my parents who arranged the marriage. I won't force you. You're at a letter of divorce, and we are even. Miss Z bit her lips and said coldly. Chapter 214. Yin Chuan, I'm sure Zhu Jiansheng and the others have told you about my curses. Back then, it was you and my parents who decided on our marriage. I won't force you. Just write a letter of divorce, and we'll be even. Lady Z bit her lips and said coldly. Yin Chuan picked up a cup of wine from the stone table and took a sip. He frowned slightly. I've already prepared the brush and ink, Lady Z said in a deep voice. Staring at Lady Z, Yin Chuan paused for a moment and said, I still don't know. What's your name? Lady Z smiled wryly. My name is ZZ. Write it. Lady Z closed her eyes. Yin Chuan didn't take the brush. He shook his head and said, I don't know how to write it. ZZ opened her eyes. What? ZZ didn't understand and looked at Yin Chuan. I don't remember the past, but I know that you're Yin Chuan's fiancé. I don't know what my parents were thinking, but I know that from then on, our fates were linked. This is a responsibility. It's not something I can throw away just because I want to. In this, you've poured 16 years of your feelings into it. Yin Chuan stared at ZZ and said, no matter if it's something I asked for or something my parents forced on me, a responsibility is a responsibility. I, Yin Chuan, can't just brush it off cleanly. I, Yin Chuan, can't do it. I can't do it. In my impression, this is the first time we met in Xinglua Mountain Villa. In my heart, I don't have any feelings for you. If you don't have any feelings, I, Yin Chuan, won't force you to do anything. But I have a responsibility. At the very least, I can't abandon you. But, ZZ frowned and said, no, let me finish first. Yin Chuan stopped ZZ. I've been thinking about the curses that they talked about. I've guessed a possibility. Perhaps you've been cursed by some kind of powerful curse. I've heard that some of the demon race's innate talents have some curse arts. You might have been hit by one of them. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Curse? ZZ was slightly stunned. That's right. It's very likely to be a kind of curse. Moreover, it's a huge curse. This kind of huge curse is linked to the heavens and earth. It even requires the sacrifice of a demon immortal for the curse to succeed. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Really? ZZ's voice trembled slightly. That's right. Before your curse is lifted, you will always be my fiancé. With me around, no one will dare to look down on you. You won't be so lonely anymore. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, But don't you know? Everyone says that I'm a jinx. Whoever treats me well will die very quickly. My mother died after giving birth to me. My father died because of me when I was 10 years old. Your parents might have died because of me too. Break the curse. I don't know how long you'll have to wait, but you'll also... ZZ said fearfully. Aren't I still fine? Don't worry, I'm blessed. I won't die. I haven't finished speaking. Yin Chuan smiled. Go on. I'll think of a way to lift your curse. I'll think of a way. Before it's lifted, you'll always be my fiancé. After it's lifted, you'll no longer be called a jinx. At that time, if you're willing, you can come to me at any time. Just let me know, and I'll dissolve the marriage and let you seek your own happiness. Yin Chuan said solemnly. What did you say? ZZ stared at Yin Chuan without blinking. She couldn't believe it. Earlier, I saw your loneliness, and I can also feel it. For more than 20 years, you have no friends, no family, and everyone fled when they saw you. It should be the despair of being abandoned by the whole world, Yin Chuan said after thinking for a while. Chapter 215. How do you know? ZZ's eyes did not blink. Because I'm your fiancé. Don't be afraid. You won't be alone in the future. You still have me. Even if the whole world despises you, I'll still be with you. Yin Chuan smiled. Looking at Yin Chuan's smile, ZZ bit her lips so hard that they were about to bleed. That's all. I still have things to deal with outside. We'll go back to the day sect in a while. Yin Chuan smiled and stood up. ZZ looked at Yin Chuan and did not say anything. By the way, your wine is really good. Yin Chuan smiled as he turned around and walked towards the entrance of the courtyard. Looking at Yin Chuan's comeback, 2 streaks of tears streaked down her mask. In the restaurant, Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen were pacing back and forth, their faces full of anxiety. Ooh, Yin Chuan stepped in. Yin Chuan, you're out. That's great. Zhu Jiansheng ran over immediately. Yin Chuan, are you okay? The 3 swordsmen scratched Yin Chuan as if checking if he was missing an arm or a leg. Yes, she's a jinx. Yin Chuan, stay away from her. The reincarnation of a jinx. Yin Chuan, you're definitely out of luck this time. Everyone continued to criticize, but Yin Chuan raised his eyebrows. Everyone, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Huh. Everyone was slightly stunned. Thank you for your help to Yin Chuan last time, but I still want to emphasize one thing. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Oh, the misty you're talking about is my fiancée. As long as I'm alive, anyone who calls her heavenly curse star, reincarnated star of calamity, god of plague, and so on will be my enemy, Yin Chuan said coldly. Ah. The 8 of them gaped in shock. Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen had strange expressions on their faces. In the end, Zhu Jiansheng was the first to speak. All right, from now on, I won't tell anyone. Yin Chuan smiled warmly. In the rear courtyard, Miss Z suddenly raised her head. Her originally black eyes suddenly turned purple. Under her purple eyes, the walls in front of her seemed to become transparent. Separated by a few walls, Miss Z could clearly see everything in the restaurant. Hearing Yin Chuan's words, Miss Z stared at him blankly. She sniffled and wiped away the tears on her mask. Yin Jing drill ground. Looking at the civil and military officials behind Yin Emperor, Yin Chuan said solemnly, Yin Xiuyu, I'll be back in a few years at most. All these years, just do your best. I'll wait for you. Yin Xiuyu nodded. Yin Chuan nodded. By the way, I'll give you a plaque. Yin Chuan waved his hand. A group of brocade guards quickly handed over a wooden plaque. On the plaque, there was a line of big words. Those who offend the Yin dynasty will be killed by me. On the other side of the line of big words, there were the 2 names Yin Chuan and Zhu Jiansheng. There was also a seal with the word Z printed on it. This can scare the ancestors of Chu, Han, and Wei. Yin Emperor's eyes lit up. Ha ha ha, scare? My and Yin Chuan's names don't count for much. The most important thing is the small purple seal. Not to mention the old ancestors of the three empires. Even if all of their sects were to come, they would definitely be scared witless when they see this seal. Zhou Jiansheng interjected with a smile. Oh, good. Yin Xiuyu was extremely satisfied. Good, that's it. Yin Chuan picked up a cup of wine. Farewell, Emperor equal to the Emperor. The civil and military officials said respectfully. Yin Chuan nodded and drank the wine in his cup. Yin Emperor and the other officials also drank the wine in their cups. Turning his head, Yin Chuan looked at the 3,000 brocade guards. Let's go. Yin Chuan got on his horse. Zhu Jiansheng, the 7 swordsmen, and Zizi also got on their horses and headed out of the city. Yin Chuan, are you really going to bring so many people back to the sect? Zhu Jiansheng asked along the way with a strange expression. Why? You don't allow it? Yin Chuan smiled. You do allow it. Official disciples can bring their servants to the Day sect. But no one is as exaggerated as you. 3,000? 3,000. Do you know that all the disciples and servants of the Day sect add up to 4,000 people? You brought 3,000 people? You will have an explanation when you return to the sect. Zhu Jiansheng shook his head with a strange expression. Is that so? Then I'll explain slowly. Ha. Yin Chuan laughed indifferently. Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen had strange expressions on their faces. Not far away, Zizi looked at Yin Chuan's free and easy back. For some reason, the dark clouds covering her heart suddenly dissipated a little. A few days later, a group of people arrived at the foot of a mountain in the north of Yin State. Thousands of people looked at the rolling mountains in the distance. Zhu Jiansheng looked at the 3,000 embroidered uniform army with a wry smile on his face. Yin Chuan, actually, the sect leader gave me a flying boat this time. It can carry us through the air. In a few days, we will arrive at the Day sect. But you have so many people. The flying boat can't handle it. We will go with you on the mountain path. Zhu Jiansheng said with a wry smile. Yes, don't worry. We will definitely escort you to the Day sect. The 7 swordsmen immediately expressed their stance. Thank you. Yin Chuan nodded. At this time, Huoguang ran over from afar. My king, all the food is ready. The soldiers are ready to set off at any time. Huoguang said solemnly. My king's sedan chair is also ready. Lu Jin said respectfully. No need. I will walk with everyone. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Everyone replied. Let's go. Yin Chuan shouted. Yes. All the soldiers carried their things and followed Yin Chuan to climb the mountain quickly. On the other hand, Zhu Jiansheng, the 7 swordsmen, and Zizi were able to reach the peak of the mountain with just a single step. The mountains in the north were like flat ground in front of these Qi realm experts. Although the mountain path was difficult, none of the 3,000 embroidered uniform army retreated. The path to immortality was right in front of them. Who would want to retreat? Yin Chuan led the soldiers. Even though the embroidered uniform army had to carry a lot of things, they didn't complain. In the next few days, the soldiers encountered 3 monsters. A snake, a bear, and a leopard. They were all in the essence state and were extremely fierce. Zhu Jiansheng and the others didn't interfere. They were all trained by the embroidered uniform army. Strength state? The 3 monsters had eaten a lot, but today they were all eaten by a group of strength state cultivators. After eating, they complained that it wasn't enough for the 3 monsters. The army of 3,000 was like a swarm of locusts. From this moment on, they officially swept through the cultivation world. Wherever the locusts passed, nothing was left alive. Wherever the army passed, white bones were left. Chapter 216. They sect in a hall. A man in his 40s was sitting cross-legged in the north of the hall. He was dressed in a Taoist robe and had a broad face. He was meditating with his eyes closed. His body was emitting a faint mist. The only thing missing was that he did not have a left arm. He was only a one-armed Taoist. The one-armed Taoist slowly opened his eyes. 2 beams of light shot out from his eyes. In front of the one-armed Taoist was a young man. He was the third-generation disciple of the Day sect, Feng Xiao, who was defeated by Yin Chuan with a grape a year ago. Congratulations, father. You've cultivated qi in his spirit and entered the immortal state. You've become a first-generation disciple. I've also become a second-generation disciple. Feng Xiao smiled. The one-armed Taoist looked at Feng Xiao and smiled dotingly. Becoming a second-generation disciple, because your cultivation is not high enough. It's not good for your growth. No, becoming a second-generation disciple means you can enjoy more resources in the sect. What's not good for me? Feng Xiao was puzzled. You haven't tempered your mind enough. The one-armed Taoist shook his head. Temper my mind? Feng Xiao frowned. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been defeated by Yin Chuan with a grape. The one-armed Taoist said patiently. Feng Xiao was embarrassed. Then, he said with a gloomy face, Humph, Yin Chuan tricked me. How would I know? Tricked? Don't blame others for your incompetence. Fortunately, it was Yin Chuan. If it were someone else, you would be dead by now. The one-armed Taoist said with a straight face. Father, why are you speaking for him? Have you forgotten? Your left arm was lost because of his father, Yin Tao. If it weren't for that traitor, Yin Tao, who colluded with the demonists, you wouldn't have. Feng Xiao said with hatred. Bastard, Yin Tao is the previous sect leader. Don't be disrespectful to him. The one-armed Taoist said in a deep voice. So what if he's the previous sect leader? Grandfather was the sect leader 2 generations ago. Back then, he gave up the position to Yin Tao. I didn't expect him to bring so much trouble. Grandfather had no choice but to take charge of the Day sect again. Feng Xiao said unhappily. Trouble? Although Yin Tao had brought trouble to the Day sect, his contributions to the Day sect were incomparable. If it weren't for him, would the Day sect be where it was today? In the future, you're not allowed to speak ill of Yin Tao. Do you hear me? The one-armed Taoist said in a deep voice. All right, I won't tell you. Feng Xiao said in a huff. Father, if it weren't for your broken arm, you would have reached the divine realm 6 years ago. But fortunately, 6 years later, Father is still a divine realm expert and has also become the peak master of the Xian Peak. You can fight for the position of the next sect leader. Grandpa is choosing now. Feng Xiao smiled again. Peak master? Hee, we are not the only divine realm experts in our sect. It's just that the other divine realm experts don't want to be bound by this. I've already lost an arm, so I'm not suitable to fight for the position of sect leader. Moreover, I'm not relying on your grandfather today. I have to rely on myself for everything. And so do you. The one-armed Taoist said. I know. You always say that. You're my father. If I don't rely on you, others will look down on me. Feng Xiao said strangely. Alas, you should learn more from Jiangnan. The one-armed Taoist said helplessly. Eldest senior brother? No. Now that I'm a second-generation disciple, he is my martial nephew. Feng Xiao said proudly. Martial nephew? Oh, soon he will be your senior brother again. The one-armed Taoist shook his head. Jiang Nan is a genius. Last time, he was defeated by Yin Chuan. Instead of being depressed, he became motivated. Now he has reached the completion of the essence state and can break through to the qi state at any time. The one-armed Taoist said in a deep voice. Chapter 217. It can't be. It's only been a year. In just a year, he rose 3 levels? How is that possible? Feng Xiao exclaimed. Nothing is impossible. Jiang Nan is a genius himself. Now he's working extremely hard. Hard work will eventually pay off. And you, cultivate well. Otherwise, even if you're a second-generation disciple, no one will think highly of you. The one-armed Taoist said in a deep voice. Isn't there still Yin Chuan? Bastard, do you like to compare yourself with others? How did I give birth to such an unfilial son? The one-armed Taoist said angrily. Father, don't be angry. I didn't say. Feng Xiao's expression was strange. Go back to your room and reflect. The one-armed Taoist said unhappily. All right. Feng Xiao walked out of the main hall helplessly. Sigh. The one-armed Taoist sighed slightly, lamenting his son's ignorance. Forget it, he's still young. He'll understand in the future. The one-armed Taoist comforted himself. In the forest, the 3,000 embroidered army soldiers were climbing towards the north. After climbing a mountain, they set up camp beside a large lake and rested for a while. Zhu Jiansheng and Yin Chuan sat beside the lake, drinking tea and chatting. Zhu Jiansheng, tell me about the day's sect, Yin Chuan asked while drinking tea. All right, Zhu Jiansheng nodded. The day's sect leader, Feng Tairan, is the sect leader 2 generations ago. After your father died, he took over the day's sect. The sect leader lives on the main peak. Next are the 4 peak leaders, Heaven, Earth, Xian, and Huang. The yellow peak leader, Gao Bufan, is the master of the 7 swordsmen. The black peak leader, Feng Tianyu, is the son of sect leader Feng Tairan. The earth peak's peak master is my teacher, Mo Wu Hui. Jiu Jiansheng gave a simple introduction. Yellow peak leader, Gao Bufan. Black peak leader, Feng Tianyu. Earth peak leader, Mo Wu Hui. What about Heaven Peak? What about the last Heaven Peak? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. Sky Peak? Zhu Jiansheng frowned slightly. The Heavenly Peak Master was originally under your father's control. Not only was your father the sect leader, but he was also the Heavenly Peak Master. Unfortunately, the Heavenly Peak suffered a great loss when your parents died. The remaining disciples all went to the other 3 peaks. Now the Heavenly Peak is empty, Zhu Jiansheng said in a deep voice. And Yin Chuan nodded. In the Day sect, other than naming people based on their master's lineage, the other way is cultivation, Zhu Jiansheng said after some thought. Oh, 3rd-generation disciples will be promoted to 2nd-generation disciples once they reach the Qi realm. Deity realm cultivators were the 1st-generation disciples. For example, if a 1st-generation disciple takes in a disciple, even if the disciple has no cultivation, he is still a 2nd-generation disciple. Just like you, your father is a 1st-generation disciple, so you are a 2nd-generation disciple. Zhu Jiansheng explained. Oh, there's such a saying? Then what if I inherit everything from my father and become the Heavenly Peak Master? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. Zhu Jiansheng looked at Yin Chuan blankly. Can't I become the Heavenly Peak Master? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. This, in theory, you can because your current identity belongs to the Heavenly Peak. You're the only one in the Heavenly Peak, so you can naturally be the Heavenly Peak Master. However, if you stay in the Heavenly Peak, who will you take as your master? You will belong to whoever you take as your master. Zhu Jiansheng said blankly. I won't take anyone as my master. I just want to inherit everything from my father. Yin Chuan shook his head. Chapter 218. What? You don't want a master? Then who will teach you how to cultivate? How are you going to cultivate? It's not enough to just read the books in the sect. Without a master to teach you, how are you going to get the experience? How slow is your cultivation speed? Zhu Jiansheng asked. There's no need. I'll find someone when I want a master. Since I'm the only one in Heavenly Peak, I can't leave. Yin Chuan said. Zhu Jiansheng's face twitched. He couldn't figure out what Yin Chuan was thinking. If I become the Peak Master of Heavenly Peak, then I'm... Yin Chuan looked at Zhu Jiansheng. You're a 1st-generation disciple. Zhu Jiansheng was speechless. If that was the case, why did Zhu Jiansheng have to call Yin Chuan martial uncle? The sect master and the other 3 peak masters are all in the divine realm? Yin Chuan asked. All of them. Other than the 3 peak masters, there are some idle martial uncles. There are also 1st-generation disciples. There are about 10 of them in total. By the way, there are 2 elders in the sect. They're traveling the world. I haven't seen them before. When sect master Feng Tairan gave up his position to your father, he became the 3rd elder. However, because of that incident, he returned to the Day sect and became the sect master. Zhu Jiansheng explained. Yes. Yin Chuan nodded. Just as the 2 of them were talking, the large lake on the side suddenly started to churn. Gurgle, 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 gurgle. The water in the lake churned, causing everyone to look nervous. The 7 swordsmen, who were eating grilled fish at the side, immediately ran over. ZZ, who was in a small tent, also walked out anxiously. The 3,000 soldiers immediately stopped eating and quickly grabbed their weapons with vigilance. Huoguang and Lu Jin quickly guarded Yinchuan. Rumble. In the Great Lake, the water was churning more and more violently. Huge waves even soared into the sky. "What's going on?" Yinchuan asked doubtfully. Zhu Jiansheng frowned and said, "I don't know. We used to come to this black dragon swamp a lot, but we never found out about this." On ho! Suddenly, an indistinct roar came from the black dragon pool. Following this roar, the lake water surged violently once again. "What's going on? We've all swum in the lake before, so why are there demonic beasts at the bottom of the lake? This has never happened before." The 3 swordsmen were puzzled. As he spoke, a powerful aura emanated from the bottom of the lake, forcing the 3,000 soldiers to retreat. "It's a monster, and it should be in the Qi Jing realm. Stronger than me." Peak of Qi Jing? Zhou Jianxing's face darkened. That sound just now, it sounded a bit like a dragon's roar. "You said this is the Black Dragon Pool?" Yinchuan looked at Zhu Jiansheng. "Yes, but there were no monsters here before. I used to come here often." Zhu Jiansheng was puzzled. "I know," ZZ suddenly said. Everyone turned their heads. "Miss Z, you know? What's going on?" Zhu Jiansheng was puzzled. ZZ looked at Yinchuan. Even though she was wearing a mask, her eyes flashed with guilt. "It's me. That day, I was too close to you. Because of me, you had to suffer." ZZ's voice sounded like she was about to cry. Zhu Jiansheng and the others' faces changed as they moved away from ZZ in fear. "It's not your fault." Yinchuan shook his head. "No, it's me. There were no monsters here before. It's me. Because of me, you—" "I said it's not your fault." Yinchuan once again interrupted ZZ's guilt. After that, Yinchuan looked at the lake again. "Zhu Jiansheng, 7 swordsmen, since the monster in the lake is only in the Qi Jing realm, you should be able to resist it, right?" Yinchuan looked at the 8 of them. "Haha, don't worry. As long as it's in the Qi Jing realm, the monsters will only be a side dish." Zhu Jiansheng laughed. "It can't be that simple." The 3 swordsmen looked at ZZ and said with lingering fear. ZZ bit her lips. Even though Yinchuan said it had nothing to do with her, her years of experience told her that it had something to do with her. "It's that damn curse again." Chapter 219. Hong! The Black Dragon Pool's water suddenly exploded, and huge waves rolled out in all directions. At the center, a huge monster suddenly rushed out. It was 1,000 feet long and pitch black. Its 4 powerful limbs grabbed the surface of the water. It was a huge black dragon. Its dragon whiskers fluttered in the wind. Its dragon mouth roared, and its eyes were filled with anger. The only difference was that it did not have a dragon horn. The monster looked up to the sky and roared. The surrounding lake water seemed to be under its control and swept in all directions. The powerful sound waves caused the surrounding air to tremble. Some members of the embroidered uniform army couldn't stand it and had to cover their ears. "Black Flood Dragon." Yinchuan narrowed his eyes. "Flood Dragon." Zhu Jiansheng also exclaimed. "Xing! Xing! Xing!" The 7 swordsmen quickly pulled out their swords with vigilance. "Where the Flood Dragon is, there must be vassals," Yinchuan said in a deep voice. "Vassal?" Zhu Jiansheng was puzzled. Bam! 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 As the Flood Dragon emerged from the water, more and more giant heads emerged from the bottom of the water. Black, red, green, yellow, all of them. They were huge snake heads. There were 10 of them in total, and each of them had a tumor on their head. They hissed as they flicked their tongues. The Flood Dragon roared, and the 10 giant snakes prostrated themselves as if they were worshipping the Flood Dragon. Qi Jing? Zhu Jiansheng's face darkened. "These 10 Snake Kings are also in the Qi state? Senior brother, where is the Flood Dragon?" The 4 swordsmen shouted. "He's also in the Qi state. Although he's reached the peak of the Qi state, he hasn't reached the Qi state yet," Zhu Jiansheng confirmed. Bam! Bam, bam, bam. Everything was not over yet. One after another, snake heads emerged from the lake. 10, 100, 200. 200 huge snakes emerged from the lake. These 200 are elite realm demonic snakes. Juji and Sheng frowned. A flood dragon, 10 chi state snake kings, and 200 essence state snake demons? How could this be? Why were they all at the bottom of the lake? How did you get here? The 5 swordsmen swallowed his saliva and asked in surprise. Roar! The flood dragon stopped roaring and turned to look at Yin Chuan. A breeze blew past. The flood dragon's eyes were cold as it stared at the group of people in front of it. SSSS. The 10 snake kings hissed to the flood dragon. You want to eat them? The flood dragon suddenly spoke. Hiss, 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 hiss. All the snake kings nodded. Not good. Juji and Sheng's expression changed. Yin Chuan, let's go. Juji and Sheng immediately whispered. No, we can't get away. It's too late. Yin Chuan shook his head. That was because hundreds of demonic beasts were staring at everyone greedily, as if they had not eaten for a long time. Where do they come from? The 3 swordsmen asked with an ugly expression. No matter where it came from, we don't have time to investigate it now. The 8 of you stop the Snake Kings. I will deal with the Flood Dragon, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Huh? Juji and Sheng and the 7 swordsmen were confused. Yin Chuan, are you kidding? Juji and Sheng did not believe him. Even if Yin Chuan was smart, he had no time to prepare for this battle. How could he deal with the demonic beasts? Moreover, it was a flood dragon. Although the Jiao dragon was also in the Qi state, he was much stronger than the Snake King because they were both in the Qi state. It's decided, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Chapter 220. Huoguang. Yin Chuan quickly ordered. Yes, Your Majesty. Huoguang replied immediately. Lead the first legion and kill the elite realm snakes. Yin Chuan ordered. Yes, Your Majesty. Huoguang replied. Lu Jin, this old servant is here. Give me the poisoner's relic, the astral fog. Yin Chuan said. Yes, Your Majesty. Lu Jin quickly handed the astral fog over. Yin Chuan drew the Jade Emperor's sword from his back. He held the sword in one hand and the astral fog in the other. Yin Chuan, I'm sorry. I'm a jinx. If not for me, ZZ said guiltily. Haha, no, you're not a jinx. You're my lucky star. Yin Chuan stopped her with a smile. Huh. Be careful and protect yourself later. Yin Chuan said. ZZ said blankly. In the distance, the flood dragon spoke in human language. You've been following me for so long. Your loyalty is commendable. I'll reward you with this human flesh. The flood dragon said. Roar, roar. The 10 serpent kings roared excitedly. With the flood dragon's permission, more than 200 snakes quickly swam toward the shore. Their eyes were filled with ferocity. Whoosh! More than 100 snakes rushed over, creating a huge wave. Squad leaders, 15 people against 1 snake. Retreat into the forest and use the trees to hinder the snake's movements. Kill the snakes and make them your food. Huoguang shouted. Yes, Your Majesty. The 3,000 embroidered army quickly split into 200 groups and scattered in all directions. Juji and Sheng and the 7 swordsmen released their powerful auras. The snakes did not dare to approach them. The 200 snakes came ashore and immediately pounced on the embroidered army. Boom, boom. Wherever the demonic snake passed, it would smash a large number of mountain rocks and break a large number of trees as it charged towards the embroidered army. The 10 great serpent kings stared at Juji and Sheng and his group. After all, the origin chi in the meat of high-grade demonic beasts was abundant, and in the eyes of demonic beasts, human flesh was the same. High-grade demonic beasts would naturally eat other high-grade demonic beasts. Roar! The Snake King roared. Shing! 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 Juji and Sheng and the 7 swordsmen drew their swords and soared into the sky. Clang! 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 A group of sword lights shot out and instantly collided with the group of Snake Kings. Demonic beasts focused on tempering their bodies. Therefore, the snakeskin of the Snake Kings was comparable to a strong armor. When the sword light collided with it, it only produced the sound of metal hitting stone. Roar! Roar! The snake opened its mouth, and poisonous smoke rose from all directions, swallowing and spitting at the cultivators. Oomph! Juji and Sheng snorted coldly. The aura around his body went wild, and the sword light exploded, forcing the two demon snakes to retreat. Boom! 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 Strong winds blew in all directions. The group of swordsmen were extremely powerful. Mud, rocks, and lake water were all thrown up into the air during the battle. Sword light soared into the sky, and poisonous gas wreaked havoc. Juji and Sheng and the great swordsmen each fought against 2 Snake Kings, while the other 6 fought against 1 Snake King each. The battle was intense. It was an inexplicable encounter. ZZ stood not far from Yin Chuan, as if she wanted to protect Yin Chuan. Hua Guang and Lu Jin also stood behind Yin Chuan. Hua Guang, Lu Jin, go and help the First Legion. Wherever there's danger, support them, Yin Chuan ordered. What about the king? Hua Guang asked anxiously. I'm facing a flood dragon. You can't help me. Yin Chuan shook his head. All right. The two complied and quickly retreated. Only Yin Chuan and ZZ were left. In the distance, the flood dragon, standing on the lake's surface, also stared at the surroundings. Chapter 2:21. The flood dragon's face darkened as it looked at the battle around it. At the same time, the flood dragon was also paying attention to Yin Chuan. The flood dragon could speak human language and had a certain level of intelligence as well. Naturally, he could tell from the previous scene that the leader of the other party was actually that kid in the strength state. The flood dragon was confused. Why did so many people listen to him? What was so special about him? Yin Chuan, let me take you away, ZZ said anxiously. No need, don't worry. Yin Chuan comforted her. But you're only in the strength state. You're only in the strength state. ZZ was so anxious that she was about to cry. Strength state? That's enough. Yin Chuan shook his head. No, there's so many demonic snakes. We can't stop them. Let's go before the flood dragon comes. ZZ was about to fly to Yin Chuan. No need, I won't go, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Trash, bite that kid to death. The flood dragon shouted angrily in the direction of the Snake Kings. When the Snake Kings heard the flood dragon's anger, they became furious. Roar! With a loud roar, one of the Snake Kings jumped out of the battle circle and swam towards Yin Chuan, even though it was heavily injured by the great swordsman. Another Snake King was dragging the great swordsman. Yin Chuan, go, Juji and Sheng said anxiously. Yin Chuan turned a deaf ear to him. The Snake Kings roared and swam towards Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan looked at the flood dragon and sneered. A snake transformed into a flood dragon? You're so lucky. Among all the snakes, you're the only one who can transform into a flood dragon. However, you're still a flood dragon. You're still my meal. Meal on a plate? Oomph. You're courting death. The flood dragon shouted angrily. Snakes wanted to eat humans. Humans wanted to eat snakes too. If a Chi State expert said that, the flood dragon would not be so angry. However, a mere strength state mortal dared to disrespect it. The flood dragon was furious, and the Snake Kings moved even faster. I'll hold off the Snake King. Hurry up and leave, ZZ said anxiously. I'm fine. Be careful. Yin Chuan shook his head. And ZZ answered and stepped forward. A long sword suddenly appeared in ZZ's hand. He charged towards the Snake King. Roar! The Snake King roared and opened its mouth to bite ZZ. However, it was at this moment that ZZ miraculously appeared. Boom! In the aftermath of the battle in the distance, a huge rock flew over. Coincidentally, it fell right into the Snake King's open mouth. Gulp! The Snake King's eyes were filled with confusion. What'd I just swallow? Chop! Violet Purple slashed out with her sword. The Snake King glared at ZZ. With a twist of its body, it swung its huge tail at ZZ. Its strength was ferocious. As it swung its tail, It brought forth a large amount of stellar energy. Like a storm, it was extremely ferocious. A whip of death lashed out at ZZ. Creak! The Snake King's tail was halfway through when its body suddenly slipped. With a creak sound, its tail deviated and landed on a huge rock. The Snake King's body fell flat on the ground. It fell in front of ZZ in an extremely embarrassing manner. It was as if it had deliberately placed itself on the chopping board. Clang! ZZ easily struck the snake's head. Roar! The Snake King let out a frustrated roar. Boom! Another huge rock from the aftermath of the battle came crashing down. The snake's head was smashed into the ground. Ha ha ha! The 7 swordsmen who were fighting in the distance laughed. At the same time, they looked at the Snake King with pity. Of all the people you could fight, you chose Misty? Are you courting death? On the other hand, the Flood Dragon's face darkened. His capable subordinate had embarrassed himself just now. How could he fall in the middle of a battle? Chapter 222. The Flood Dragon's face darkened. His right-hand man had embarrassed himself too much just now. How could he fall down in the middle of a battle? Roar! The Snake King roared as it pulled its head out from the ground. The shattered rocks smashed towards ZZ. ZZ panicked, and the sword in her hand was suddenly knocked away by a piece of rock. She was in a sorry state. The Flood Dragon regained its composure. Coincidentally, the long sword fell into a crevice, and the sword hilt was inserted into the crevice. Not good. ZZ grabbed the sword with her jiaohu. At this moment, the Snake King straightened its posture and revealed a ferocious expression. Roar! With a loud roar, the Snake King was enraged. It twisted its body again and threw itself at ZZ. Squeak! Under the Flood Dragon's confused gaze, the Snake King slipped again at the same spot. Another horse fell to the ground. What was worse was that his head just happened to fall onto the long sword that was wedged in between the rocks. Cheat! The sword pierced into the Snake King's right eye. Blood splattered everywhere. Roar! 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 The Snake King shook its body in pain. Had it gone blind for the second time? Was it blind? The unlucky Snake King hissed in pain. Who could understand how it felt at this moment? Slipped? Or even blinded its eye? The Flood Dragon's face turned ugly again. Trash! The Flood Dragon shouted. It's fine if you can't beat it, but you crippled yourself before even fighting? Why did I take in such a trash? Roar! The Flood Dragon roared as it rode on the waves. ZZ run, run. Yen Chuan's face changed. It's okay, it can't do anything to me. ZZ smiled. No, this Flood Dragon is different. It can transform into a dragon and has great luck. Your curse won't affect it much. Yin Chuan said anxiously. ZZ was stunned. At this moment, the Flood Dragon was already in front of ZZ. Roar! The Flood Dragon roared and opened its mouth to bite ZZ. The huge dragon's mouth spewed out a large amount of fishy smell, and in the blink of an eye, it was right in front of ZZ. ZZ seemed to be stunned. Boom! Suddenly, a figure knocked ZZ away. He replaced ZZ. Oh, the Flood Dragon swallowed the figure in one gulp. ZZ, who was flying through the air, saw clearly that it was Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan had knocked her away. ZZ was stunned. Bang! ZZ landed on the ground. No! ZZ howled in grief. Hung long long. Following ZZ's sorrowful roar, the surrounding ground suddenly shook, and deep trenches even appeared in some places. It was as if a great earthquake had erupted due to ZZ's emotions. Dark clouds suddenly covered the sky. The experts fighting in all directions were all inexplicably shocked. What's going on? Zhuji and Sheng and the others were shocked. The Flood Dragon roared in agony. Hong long long. The Flood Dragon rolled in agony. Yin Chuan, nothing must happen to you. Yin Chuan, Yin Chuan. ZZ said anxiously. Hong long long. The surrounding earthquake continued, and the sky was covered with dark clouds. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. The Flood Dragon was also writhing in pain. Chapter 223. What's wrong with the flood dragon? And where's Yin Chuan? The people fighting around were anxious. Zizi kept swinging her jiaohu as she pounced on the flood dragon. Boom, boom, boom. The flood dragon rolled on the ground. Impossible. What did I eat? What did I eat? The flood dragon cried out in pain. And my injuries? Why did my injuries from 10 years ago relapse? How is this possible? The flood dragon continued to cry out. The flood dragon rolled on the ground, but ZZ pounced on it. As for the Snake King, who had been fighting with ZZ at the beginning, he was still in a tragic state. His right, I had been blinded, and now his left, I was blinded as well. He was covered in injuries and looked miserable. Spit him out. Spit Yin Chuan out, ZZ said anxiously. Curse. I'm cursed. No, not just that. What's in my stomach? The flood dragon writhed in pain. The muscles in the flood dragon's stomach quickly twisted and tried to swallow Yin Chuan. However, the moment Yin Chuan entered the flood dragon's mouth, he crushed Poisoner's remnant, the mist shield. Once the mist shield was broken, a large amount of black gas enveloped Yin Chuan. No matter how strong the flood dragon's stomach was, it could not hurt Yin Chuan at all. The Jade Emperor sword in his hand stirred and immediately absorbed the flood dragon's blood. The Jade Emperor sword that had turned black suddenly turned bright red as it absorbed the flood dragon's blood. Flood dragons have dragon scales. No one could do anything to you. Even Zhuji and Sheng and the others can't break your dragon scales. Unfortunately, you're a newborn flood dragon. Your wild nature hasn't changed. Are you still used to swallowing like a snake? Do you really think the twisting force in your stomach is that great? Yin Chuan sneered. With the mist shield, the Jade Emperor sword absorbed the flood dragon's blood. Facing such high-quality blood, the Jade Emperor sword was very excited. As it absorbed, it trembled. No. The flood dragon cried out in pain and rolled around. ZZ pounced towards the flood dragon. Wherever she went, rocks would fall from all directions, ruthlessly adding insult to injury. Obviously, Yin Chuan's conjecture about the flood dragon's great fortune had no effect in front of ZZ. As long as one did evil to ZZ, no matter if one was a snake or a dragon, they would still be unlucky. Moreover, it was an instant misfortune. Release Yin Chuan. Release Yin Chuan. ZZ's eyes were filled with tears. Tears flowed out of ZZ's eyes. The flood dragon, rolling on the ground, also had tears of hatred in its eyes. I wanted to come out too. He wouldn't come out. The powerful pressure caused the mist surrounding Yin Chuan to tremble. Yin Chuan raised his eyebrows. He knew that the astral fog wouldn't last for much longer. Suddenly, Yin Chuan saw a red light. Flood dragon's heart? Good. Jade Emperor's sword. If you want to suck, then suck it for me. Use all your strength to suck it out. Quick, 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 Yin Chuan said excitedly. Screech. The Jade Emperor's sword stabbed into the flood dragon's heart. Roar. The flood dragon suddenly opened its eyes and roared. Its body writhed even more violently. It was in so much pain that it was sweating. Spit it out. Spit it out, ZZ cried. The flood dragon was in so much pain that tears streamed down its face. I want to vomit, but he won't come out. Why did this happen as soon as I came out? In the flood dragon's stomach. The astral fog trembled more violently. Clearly, it couldn't last much longer. Quick, 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 Yin Chuan said anxiously. The Jade Emperor's sword was bright red. Around the sword, red mist rose. The evil aura was no longer black, but a mutated red evil aura. Chapter 224. The Jade Emperor sword absorbed the blood energy, but its grade was too low. The flood dragon's blood energy was too strong and couldn't be absorbed in a short time. Quick, quick, quick! The evil aura of the blood sword became stronger and stronger. At the same time, blood energy poured into Yin Chuan's body. If it was in the past, Yin Chuan would definitely disperse this energy. However, time was tight, and Yin Chuan didn't reject it. Instead, he kept absorbing it. When the blood energy entered his body, Yin Chuan was surrounded by red mist. At the same time, Yin Chuan felt his blood boiling. Blood boiling? This was a very strange feeling. Yin Chuan didn't know what was going on, but he felt more and more excited. Plop, 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 plop. Yin Chuan's heart beat twice as fast. Twice as fast. What is this feeling? Yin Chuan was shocked. Yin Chuan felt more and more excited. It was a kind of excitement that he had never felt before. His whole body felt like it was on fire. A murderous feeling suddenly filled his body. Kill, kill, kill. Yin Chuan couldn't help but shout. At the same time, Yin Chuan's hair slowly turned red. It was as red as blood. Even his red hair was growing rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it was twice as long. What's wrong with me? Is it the evil aura that's affecting me? No, it's not the evil aura. It seems to be my instinct, my murderous nature. No, Yin Chuan said with an ugly expression. On one hand, Yin Chuan's instinct made him feel bloodthirsty, murderous, and excited. On the other hand, the Emperor's will was strongly suppressing him, making him calm down. One was excitement, the other was calmness. The two wills were in conflict. Reason made Yin Chuan calm down, but instinct made Yin Chuan excited. Yin Chuan's instincts and rationality even made him think that he was sick. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Yin Chuan shouted. Boom! With a wave of his hand, the flood dragon's heart was cut in half. So powerful? That's not right. I'm only at the 9th level of the power realm. It's impossible for me to exert such great strength. But why do I have such great strength? Yin Chuan was getting more and more confused. For Yin Chuan, who had everything under his control, Yin Chuan could not adapt to losing control of his body at this moment. Buzz! The astral fog was shaking more and more. Roar! The flood dragon let out a sorrowful cry and fell to the ground. Its heart had been cut off. His life was over. Even as it died, the flood dragon's eyes were wide open. It didn't understand why it was so unlucky. Why did it die so unjustly? Boom! Yin Chuan ran out of the flood dragon's mouth at the last moment before the fog dissipated. Ooh! Yin Chuan landed on the ground, creating a large cloud of dust. On the other side, ZZ, who was crying, was stunned when she saw Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan, you're fine. I'm glad you're fine. ZZ pounced on him excitedly. Just as she was about to reach Yin Chuan, she suddenly stopped as if she was frozen on the spot. ZZ calmed down, and the earthquake stopped as well. Snake Monster, Snake King, and the rest of the experts all looked at the flood dragon. The flood dragon is dead? Yin Chuan killed the flood dragon? Juji and Sheng and the rest were at a loss. However, they were more attracted by Yin Chuan's current state. Yin Chuan's hair was disheveled. His originally black hair was now bright red, and it even reached his waist. Yin Chuan's hair was disheveled, and his hair was now bright red. From afar, Yin Chuan looked extremely demonic. He had a blood sword, red hair, and a fearless gaze. Standing in a roaring blood mist, he looked both demonic and demonic. Blood Devil Yin Tao, Juji and Sheng exclaimed. Martial Uncle was also like this in the past. Blood red hair and demonic nature? The great swordsman also exclaimed. Roar, 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 roar. On the other side, the flood dragon died, and the snakes cried out in grief. Chapter 225. Yin Chuan came out from the flood dragon's belly and stood still. His blood was boiling, and Yin Chuan could even hear the boiling sound of his blood. Excitement. Incomparable excitement. Yin Chuan didn't know what was going on either. He only knew that he wanted to fight, and he wanted to kill continuously. Glaring, he dragged the Jade Emperor sword in his hand and charged at a demon snake. The demon snake was still immersed in the sorrow of the flood dragon's death. It didn't notice until Yin Chuan approached. Roar! The demon snake roared angrily, venting its hatred on Yin Chuan. It swung its tail at an astonishing speed towards Yin Chuan. Your Majesty, be careful. The surrounding embroidered uniform army cried out in alarm. Swish! Shing! Yin Chuan abruptly dodged the snake's tail and slashed at the demon snake's body with his sword. Chi! The sword left the bloody wound on the demonic beast's body. So fast, Hua Guang, who had come to the rescue, exclaimed in surprise. Xing! 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 Yin Chuan's body moved violently. The Jade Emperor's sword in his hand slashed out blurry sword shadows. Fast, incomparably fast. It was so fast that it was frightening. See. All that could be seen was a shadow. Yin Chuan quickly cut down the demonic snake with his sword. How could it be so fast? Almost catching up to me. I'm a Qi Jing warrior. Zhu Jiansheng, who was fighting in the distance, exclaimed. Not only is it fast, but the strength of the realm of strength can't even break the demon snake's skin. The great swordsman was also surprised. Roar! The demonic snake howled in agony, but it couldn't even catch a glimpse of Yin Chuan's figure. Yin Chuan had turned into a bloody shadow and was moving in astonishing speed, slashing out with his sword. Bam! 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 Piece after piece of flesh was cut off by Yin Chuan's sword. A large amount of snake meat was sliced into slices and soared into the sky like a torrential rain. Roar! Roar! In front of Yin Chuan, who was in the strength state, the elite state demonic snake was completely defenseless. It allowed Yin Chuan to cut it into pieces. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a red light. Quick, 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 what's going on? In this life, I'm only in the strength state. How can I be so fast? Yin Chuan looked at the long sword in his hand in confusion. No, it can still be faster. It can still be faster. Yin Chuan said in surprise. Boundless excitement enveloped Yin Chuan. For a moment, Yin Chuan's strength skyrocketed. My thoughts aren't in chaos, so I'm not going berserk. I just need to be excited. Right now, it seems like I'm only in the transition stage. I haven't been completely excited yet, but I'm already so fast and powerful. What would happen if he was completely stimulated? Hundreds of thoughts flashed through Yin Chuan's mind. Excited? No, there was also insolence. There was also an insolence that was about to erupt. A kind of unbridled evil intent. This unbridled mentality, is it trying to cover up my own will? No, no. Yin Chuan suddenly let out a furious roar. We can't let this situation continue. My will cannot be violated, not even by myself. Yin Chuan's eyes widened. Boom! Yin Chuan dispersed the blood mist around him with a loud bang. He suddenly became quiet. A domineering aura was emitted. Holding the blood sword, he stood there motionlessly. As for the demonic snake, just now, Yin Chuan had already cut off all its flesh. Only a skeleton was left. Yin Chuan closed his eyes and didn't move. He used his strong will to suppress his boiling blood. His blood-red hair slowly turned black again. Moreover, it slowly shrunk back to its original state. Chapter 226. Yin Chuan's heart slowly calmed down, and his blood stopped boiling. He slowly calmed down and recovered. Around them, the group of experts seemed to be dumbfounded. Wang Gang Kai. Hua Guang still had lingering fear. Yin Chuan's state just now was too evil. His sword was as fast as light, and he was bloodthirsty. No one was allowed to get close. ZZ covered her mouth, and her eyes were filled with joy and surprise. Yin Chuan's heart calmed down. My body is not unwell, and there are no sequelae from the disintegration of the poison. Where did that power come from? I'm only in the strength state now. How can I have the power of the essence state? And that speed, even the essence state in my previous life couldn't reach it. What's going on? Yin Chuan frowned and pondered. At the same time, another thought came to his mind. Just now, I was only in a semi-excited state, and I didn't fully demonize, but I had such power. What if I just let it go? Let it go, and demonize with all my strength? What should I do? Yin Chuan's heart was in turmoil. Yin Chuan knew clearly that power came from cultivation, and it wouldn't increase for no reason. It definitely wouldn't, but just now it did increase. Why? What was going on? Kill! Shoot! The battle continued. Yin Chuan slowly opened his eyes, and there was still some confusion in his eyes. Looking at the demon snake in front of him, Yin Chuan was deep in thought. Hua Guang came forward. I'm fine. Go help the others. The flood dragon is dead, and the demon snakes will definitely escape. Don't let them escape. Kill them all, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes, Huo Guang replied. At this moment, a group of demon snakes did start to escape, but the army was already deployed. How could they let them escape? Absolutely not. Yin Chuan, you're fine. It's great that you're fine. ZZ wiped the tears on her mask. Of course I'm fine. Yin Chuan chuckled as he walked over. Don't come over. Don't come over. I can't hurt you anymore. ZZ retreated in fear. I'm fine, aren't I? Yin Chuan comforted. Don't come over. ZZ shouted. Stop right there. Yin Chuan shouted. ZZ paused in a daze. Yin Chuan slowly walked to ZZ. She stared into ZZ's eyes. Aren't I fine? Don't worry, I'm blessed. Moreover, you've helped me a lot this time. Without you, how could I send so much meat at once? Yin Chuan said with a smile. But, ZZ still shook her head. No buts. Everything has two sides. Even if you are cursed, as long as you control it well, you can turn it into a blessing, right? Yin Chuan smiled and comforted him. Staring at Yin Chuan, ZZ felt warmth in her heart for some reason. It had been a long time since he had felt this way. When was the last time? ZZ recalled. Brother Z, don't worry. Your daughter is our daughter. We'll take good care of her. I've already given birth to a son. Now we'll become in-laws. In the future, she'll be my son, Yin Chuan's wife. When we're not around, my son will take care of her. He won't let her suffer. The warmth from the last time was still vivid in her mind. Now it was happening again. ZZ looked at Yin Chuan in a daze. She was choked with emotions for a moment. Haha, don't worry. I've already said that you're my lucky star. Yin Chuan laughed. Thank you, ZZ said softly. Chapter 227. You're welcome. Let me check myself first. I don't know why my hair turned red just now. Yin Chuan said with a smile. No, it's blood red hair. It's fine. Your father was like that too. ZZ said immediately. My father. Yin Chuan was confused. Yes, many people know that Uncle became famous because of his blood red hair. People gave him the title of Blood Demon. I heard that during the Heavenly Bestowment Conference, Uncle defeated all the experts in his blood red hair state and stole the limelight. ZZ explained. My father was like that too. Does it run in my family? Yin Chuan was surprised. I'm not sure, but I think your father left you a letter. It should be in the Day sect. You should know everything after you inherit your father's legacy. ZZ explained. Okay. Yin Chuan nodded. My father can do it too? Yin Chuan was relieved. At least it wasn't a problem with cultivation. Blood demon? Blood demon? 2 days later, at the Black Dragon Pool, Yin Chuan cleaned himself up and walked back to the shore after washing up. At the moment, the Black Dragon Lake was surrounded by a large number of demon snakes, snake kings, and flood dragons. Zhuji and Sheng, the 7 swordsmen, and the others surrounded the flood dragon's body and looked at it. Their eyes were shining with excitement. Huo Guang ran to them. King, demon snakes, none of them escaped. They were all killed. 100 of our brothers were slightly injured, and 8 of our brothers were severely injured. Huo Guang said in a deep voice. Okay. Yin Chuan nodded. Zhuji and Sheng, the 7 swordsmen. Yin Chuan shouted. At this moment, the 8 of them were also in a sorry state, each with injuries on their bodies. But their faces were filled with excitement. Yin Chuan, you are really something. That was a Jiao dragon. Even though it was only at the Qi state, it was still powerful enough to kill an immortal state warrior. The 3 swordsmen looked at Yin Chuan in disbelief. You guys killed the 10 great snake kings. You guys are also amazing. Yin Chuan laughed. What? The snake kings were confused because of the death of the flood dragon. That's why we took advantage of them. Moreover, one of them was killed by Miss Z. We don't dare to claim credit. The 4 swordsmen giggled. Everyone, what do you think of this flood dragon skin? Yin Chuan looked at the complete corpse of the flood dragon and asked with a smile. Sure, this is a dragon scale. Even the worst dragon scale is still a dragon scale, a top-grade material. The great swordsman laughed. Yin Chuan smiled and said, How about this? The flood dragon's skin belongs to you. As for the snake kings you killed, give them to me. Ah, ah, you don't want the dragon scale? Zhu Jiansheng was surprised. What do you think? Yin Chuan continued to laugh. Then we won't stand on ceremony. The seven swordsmen said excitedly. But you're at a disadvantage. It's easy to find a snake king, but it's hard to find a flood dragon. Zhu Jiansheng frowned. If you feel embarrassed, my subordinates are injured. Help me heal their injuries. That's enough. Yin Chuan shook his head. That's easy. We can help them heal by transferring their spiritual essence. The great swordsman immediately promised. Also, can we rest for a while and go to the day's sect after a few days? Why? I want to rest here, Yin Chuan said solemnly. Okay, no problem. It's a small matter. The 8 people agreed. Well, in that case, you can go and divide the flood dragon skin. I still have use for the meat. Yin Chuan laughed. Okay. The 8 people rubbed their palms together excitedly. Dragon scales, these are dragon scales. The 8 of them went to skin the flood dragon. Yin Chuan looked at Huoguang beside him and said, Pass down my order. Everyone in the genie army is above LV9 of the power realm. By the time we finish eating the snake meat, I want everyone to reach the complete stage of the power realm. Yes, Huoguang said excitedly. Remember, those who can pass the heavenly tribulation don't do it. My king, don't worry. I'll pass down the order now, Huoguang said excitedly. Chapter 228. Transin Yin Chuan beside the Black Dragon Pool. The embroidered E-Army was stationed around. A large number of embroidered E-Army members were sitting cross-legged and practicing. Enjoying the demonic beast meat allowed the embroidered E-Army's cultivation to improve rapidly. King, this is dragon meat. Lu Jin respectfully served Yin Chuan a plate of good meat. Have you prepared it for Miss Z? Yin Chuan asked in a low voice. Miss Z said she didn't want to eat it, so she gave it all to you. Lu Jin said respectfully. Got it. Lu Jin, during this period, you can eat as much as you want. Cultivate well. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Yes, Lu Jin said with a trace of excitement. At the bottom of the Black Dragon Pool, Zhu Jiansheng, 2nd swordsman, 5th swordsman, and 6th swordsman each opened a chi wall to block the surrounding water. The 4 of them stood at the bottom of a black hole and waited patiently. Senior brother, there was no black hole here before. 2nd swordsman frowned. Maybe there was, but it was blocked by something before, so we didn't notice it. Zhu Jiansheng shook his head. The 4 of them have been in there for 6 hours. Why haven't they come out yet? Why don't we go in and have a look? 2nd swordsman said again. No, let's continue to wait. Zhu Jiansheng shook his head. Okay. The 3 of them sighed slightly, while the 4 of them were waiting anxiously. Boom! 4 streams of light shot out from the hole. Boss! 2nd swordsman was surprised. They were the other 4 swordsmen. How is it? Zhu Jiansheng asked immediately. Damn, this hole is really deep, really deep. 3rd swordsman suddenly cursed. Oh, Zhu Jiansheng was puzzled. We haven't reached the end. This hole should lead to a very, very far place. Great swordsman smiled bitterly. What? You've been in the cave for 6 hours, 6 hours, and you still haven't reached the bottom? The 2nd swordsman was surprised. Yes, that's right. Also, according to our analysis, the cave should be connected to the mountain of windy demons. It should be connected to a deep pool on the other side of the mountain of windy demons. The flood dragon came from the mountain of windy demons. The swordsman said solemnly. Demon Wind Mountain Range? Zhu Jiansheng frowned as he asked. That's the territory of the demonic beasts, and cultivators generally don't dare to step into it. Even if the Serpent Kings and Serpent Kings aren't at the top of the hierarchy, they're at least at the middle level of the demonic beasts. However, this place is the world of cultivators, and they can be killed by cultivators at any time. Why did they flee from the Demon Wind Mountain Range? Could something have happened to the Demon Wind Mountain Range? The great swordsman frowned. I can't be sure, but it's very unusual. Our day sect is located at the edge of the mountain range of the Demon Wind Mountain, so we have to be cautious. We must report this to the sect leader immediately. Zhu Jiansheng said in a deep voice. How about this? We'll stay here and look after Yin Chuan. Old 7, you go back to the sect and quickly report to the sect leader. The great swordsman thought for a moment and said, Okay. As they spoke, they floated toward the surface of the lake. Bang! They rushed out of the lake. One of them shot toward the north while the other 7 flew toward the shore. On the shore, Misty was sitting alone at a stone table, drinking wine. When she saw them coming out from the bottom of the lake, she immediately shouted, The 7 of you! Come here! Huh? Zhu Jiansheng and the others were shocked. The 7 of them did not dare to resist. With a trace of fear, they flew 20 feet away from ZZ and did not dare to approach her. Have you investigated the bottom of the lake? What's the situation? ZZ asked. Zhu Jiansheng and the others did not dare to hide anything and immediately told her everything. Demon Wind, Mountain Range. ZZ frowned slightly. Does Miss Z know anything about it? Zhu Jiansheng asked curiously. Chapter 229. Some time ago, I saw some mysterious people making some supplies in Carefree City. They seem to be heading to Demon Wind Mountain Range. ZZ recalled. Mysterious people? What mysterious people? Zhu Jiansheng asked curiously. They were dressed mysteriously and were divided into different factions. There were geomancers, people from the Dazhao, sacred ground, and elites from the demon clan. Their destination seemed to be Demon Wind Mountain Range. ZZ said after some thought. What? People from the Dazhao, sacred ground? Elites from the demon clan? What kind of elites from the demon clan? The demon clan could transform into a human form. What kind of elites are you talking about? ZZ asked. Transform into a human form? Refine one's spirit? Emptiness realm? Emptiness realm demon? Zhu Jiansheng was shocked. The demon clan and the leader from the Dazhao, sacred ground, had a standoff for a while. I happened to see it. ZZ said. A standoff? Does that mean the Dazhao, sacred ground, sent an emptiness realm expert? Zhu Jiansheng frowned. By the way, Miss Z, how do you know that it was a demon clan? The great swordsman asked. I sense the demon chi. ZZ said. Everyone was puzzled. It's up to you to believe it or not. ZZ said. Of course we believe it. Everyone nodded. By the way, when did the fusion happen? Zhu Jiansheng asked again. 4 months ago. It seems like something really happened at Demon Wind Mountain Range. ZZ frowned. 6th brother, go after 7th brother. Let's return to the sect and report to the sect leader. The great swordsman ordered. All right, the 6th swordsman answered. The 6th swordsman did not dare to shirk the responsibility. By the way, where's Yin Chuan? Zhu Jiansheng asked curiously. He's on the mountain. I think he's trying to break through to LV10 power realm. ZZ looked at the mountain peak not far away. As expected, the peak of the mountain had been flattened. Yin Chuan was sitting in the middle. His body was surrounded by a golden glow. Rumble. Yin Chuan's body emitted a series of rumbling sounds. At the foot of the mountain, Lu Jin, Hua Guang, and the others were standing guard. Boom! With a loud bang, a gust of wind blew in all directions around Yin Chuan, blowing a large amount of smoke and dust into the air. Amidst the smoke and dust, the golden light around Yin Chuan seemed to have condensed into the shape of a golden dragon, revolving around Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan sat cross-legged within the golden dragon. The golden dragon glared at him, towering into the sky, condensing energy into essence. Now that I've completed the realm of strength, I can gather the weak, profound chi. ZZ's eyes lit up. 10th level of the power realm. Completion of the power realm? Zhu Jiansheng asked with a strange expression. This was because Zhu Jiansheng still remembered clearly that Yin Chuan was only at level 3 of the power realm a year ago. How could he have achieved completion of the power realm now? Yin Chuan stood up. What is he doing? He just completed the strength realm. Why doesn't he try to comprehend it more? The great swordsman asked in surprise. Opening his arms? What is he doing? Going through the heavenly tribulation? No, He's really going through the heavenly tribulation. He's going through the heavenly tribulation. The three swordsmen were shocked. Rumble. In the sky, there was a sudden loud noise. Countless amounts of black smoke gathered. There were more and more of it, thicker and thicker. It was aimed at Yin Chuan, covering Yin Chuan's head. First heaven's heavenly tribulation? ZZ's eyes flashed with worry. Is he going through the heavenly tribulation? The king is going through the heavenly tribulation. Heavenly tribulation? It's really the heavenly tribulation. The king is going through the heavenly tribulation. The embroidered uniform army looked up at the sky. Their eyes flashed with anticipation. Oh no, the king didn't bring the Jade Emperor sword up. Lu Jin's expression suddenly changed. The Jade Emperor sword was not brought up the mountain peak. Instead, it was left at the foot of the mountain by Yin Chuan. Lu Jin was about to retrieve the sword and send it up the mountain for Yin Chuan. Eunuch Lu, you don't have to send the sword. Huo Guang stopped her. Lu Jin frowned. The king taught me that the heavenly tribulation can refine the body. When I went through the heavenly tribulation, I didn't use any weapons. The king is so smart. How could he forget about weapons? He didn't bring the Jade Emperor sword up the mountain. The king must have thought about it beforehand. Huo Guang explained. Lu Jin was slightly stunned. She thought about it and nodded. All right, the Lord is going through the heavenly tribulation at the top of the mountain. Will be a demonstration for all of you? Huo Guang thought about it and said, Oh, it's possible. It seems possible. Lu Ji nodded. At the top of the mountain, the heavenly tribulation clouds appeared in the sky and a strong wind blew. Yin Chuan stood at the top of the mountain and looked up at the sky. His eyes flashed with coldness. His long hair and robe fluttered in the wind. Yin Chuan stretched out his arms. In his palms, there were golden lights like stars. First heaven's heavenly tribulation? Come, Yin Chuan said calmly. As he spoke, Yin Chuan's face became ferocious. Roar! Yin Chuan roared fiercely at the heavenly tribulation clouds. His eyes were fierce. His muscles were tense, and veins were popping out on his face. What is Yin Chuan doing? Is he provoking the heavenly tribulation clouds? The heavenly tribulation hasn't started yet. Why is he so nervous? He can't be nervous, right? What is Yin Chuan doing? Zhu Jiansheng and the others were puzzled. Boom! A bolt of heavenly tribulation clouds rushed down. Everyone fell silent and stared at it. Roar! Yin Chuan roared again. As he roared, he opened his mouth and faced the thick bolt of heavenly tribulation lightning. Boom! The heavenly tribulation lightning struck Yin Chuan's mouth. Bang! Yin Chuan's body suddenly emitted a powerful aura, causing a large amount of soil to be overturned. Yin Chuan's hair stood up and shook crazily. The soil exploded. Everyone vaguely understood what happened. He swallowed the heavenly tribulation lightning. The three swordsmen exclaimed. Swallowed? Swallowed the heavenly tribulation lightning? Are you kidding me? The five swordsmen were also stunned. Can the heavenly tribulation lightning be swallowed? How is that possible? The four swordsmen were also stunned. Even the knowledgeable Zhou Jiansheng was petrified at this moment. Many people at LV-10 of the Power Realm might not be able to survive the heavenly tribulation even with their magical weapons. If they used their physical bodies, they would be fried on the outside and tender on the inside. However, Yin Chuan was even better. He swallowed the heavenly tribulation lightning directly. How is that possible? The great swordsman was confused. Zizi had been nervous the whole time. When she saw Yin Chuan swallowing the first heavenly tribulation lightning, she panicked at first, but when she saw that Yin Chuan was fine, she was pleasantly surprised. At the foot of the mountain, Huo Guang and Lu Jin were also looking at the sky, strangely. Swallowed. Huo Guang was shocked. Huo Guang, when you were going through the heavenly tribulation, how was the first heaven tribulation? Lu Jin was confused. If I were like the king, I would have been killed. Huo Guang said with a pale face. Lu Jin. Boom. Roar. The second heavenly tribulation lightning struck. Yin Chuan roared again and swallowed the second heavenly tribulation lightning. Swallowing heavenly tribulation lightning. Chapter 230. Boom! Roar! The sound of heavenly thunder and Yin Chuan's loud roar came together. Everyone suddenly realized that the sound of heavenly thunder, which used to shake people's hearts, was nothing compared to Yin Chuan's loud roar. This roar was the real thunder of heaven and earth. With a roar, he swallowed a bolt of lightning. In the blink of an eye, Yin Chuan had already swallowed 8 bolts of lightning. That was a bolt of lightning. Zhu Jiansheng and the 5 swordsmen were still petrified. The 6 of them had never seen it before, nor had they ever heard of it before. Which vicious person dared to do this, daring to swallow heavenly lightning? That was a bolt of lightning. Once the lightning strikes you, your internal organs will explode in an instant. However, Yin Chuan in front of them had overturned everyone's understanding. He was really swallowing lightning. He was really swallowing lightning. Fierce. Too cool. I've learned something new, the group of swordsmen said in a daze. On the top of the mountain, Yin Chuan swallowed 8 bolts of lightning. A large amount of electricity flowed out from his pores. Yin Chuan's robe and long hair fluttered in the wind. Lightning surrounded him, making him look radiant. Even Yin Chuan's eyes shot out streaks of electricity. From inside to outside, the electricity spread out from Yin Chuan's body. Yin Chuan's face was still ferocious. His palms slightly formed into claws. In his palms, a large amount of electricity crackled. True dragon will, heaven swallowing poison. Yin Chuan's eyes widened. Boom! The 9th bolt of lightning struck. This time, Yin Chuan did not roar. He opened his mouth and swallowed the 9th bolt of lightning. Boom! When the 9th bolt of lightning entered his mouth, Yin Chuan's aura suddenly soared. It was several times stronger than before. The aura burst out, blasting the soil and rocks on the top of the mountain. It's over. All the 9 heavenly thunders have been swallowed. Zhu Jiansheng let out a long sigh. Everyone was stunned. However, just as the 9 heavenly thunders were completed and the first stage of heavenly tribulation was over, Yin Chuan roared again. Roar! The roar this time was several times more majestic than the previous one. The powerful roar caused the mountain under his feet to shake violently. Even a large amount of lightning burst out from his pores. For a moment, Yin Chuan became like a ball of lightning, incomparably dazzling. Surrounded by lightning, Yin Chuan turned into a huge electromagnetic field. Buzz! The spears of the embroidered uniform army below all trembled intensely. Buzz! The powerful magnetic field attracted a large amount of metal. That wasn't the key point. The key point was that the magnetic field formed by the lightning was aimed at the sky. Facing the sky ferociously, Yin Chuan's roar did not stop. The magnetic field was facing the rolling black clouds in the sky. Rumble! Rumbling sounds came from the black clouds, as if they were resisting the magnetic force. The lightning in the black clouds was violently attracted by the electromagnetic field released by Yin Chuan. The powerful magnetic force pulled down the black clouds in the sky that were about to disperse. The tribulation clouds were being pulled down by the magnetic force. Roar! Yin Chuan's roar became louder and louder. The tribulation clouds were getting closer and closer to the ground. The surroundings of the mountain peak were filled with dark tribulation clouds that had been pulled down from the sky. What is he doing? The 4 swordsmen exclaimed. How can the tribulation clouds be pulled down? How can this be? The 3 swordsmen also exclaimed. Chapter 231. Within the dark tribulation clouds, there seemed to be a large amount of lightning flashing. While struggling, the cloud tried to break free from the magnetic field created by Yin Chuan's roar. Yin Chuan roared continuously, and the tribulation clouds got closer and closer to Yin Chuan. Roar! While roaring, Yin Chuan opened his mouth and faced the approaching tribulation clouds. The roar stopped and turned into gasps. Gasp! The gasps were usually very soft, but in Yin Chuan's mouth, they were loud. The experts who heard it felt their scalps tingling. Everyone could see clearly that the tribulation clouds were being sucked into Yin Chuan's mouth. The rolling tribulation clouds were huge. It was a huge tribulation cloud with a radius of 3 kilometers. It was being sucked into Yin Chuan's stomach bit by bit. Under the huge magnetic force, the tribulation clouds couldn't disperse. They disappeared bit by bit and were being sucked into Yin Chuan's mouth. The dark clouds above everyone's head became less and less. The original darkness gradually recovered, and everyone could see the sun. Correspondingly, more than half of the tribulation clouds were being sucked into Yin Chuan's mouth. Gasp! This was the most arrogant gasp that the swordsman and Zhu Jiansheng had ever heard. The huge tribulation clouds slowly entered Yin Chuan's mouth. It was like a whale swallowing water. It was very spectacular. Everyone was sure that they would never forget this scene in their lifetime. Huff! The last strand of tribulation cloud was swinging its lightning tail as it was unwillingly sucked into Yin Chuan's stomach. Yin Chuan closed his mouth, and his body emitted rumbling sounds. His pores were closed, and his body couldn't emit any more lightning. Quietly, Yin Chuan sat cross-legged again, as if he was refining the lightning and tribulation clouds in his stomach. The sky cleared up. A breeze blew across the mountain peak. Yin Chuan sat quietly in the breeze. It was a harmonious scene. However, the thousands of people around couldn't calm down as they looked at the mountain peak. Billowing waves rolled in their hearts. Motherfucker, is this a tribulation? The 3 swordsmen finally recovered and cursed. Fucking tribulation. The 4 swordsmen cursed with red eyes. Damn it, fuck you. At this moment, the group of swordsmen could only calm down the raging waves in their hearts by cursing. Today's stimulation was too great. Not only was it exciting, but it was also a huge blow to the 6 of them. Both of them were transcending their tribulations. Why was it that when he transcended his tribulation back then, he almost died? Why was Yin Chuan so arrogant and unreasonable today? However, Zizi's eyes were filled with excitement. She clenched her fists tightly, as if she was the one who had just transcended the tribulation. Hua Guang, Lu Jin, and the 3,000 embroidered uniform army soldiers were trembling with excitement. At this moment, everyone finally understood what kind of powerful person their king was. No, perhaps this wasn't all that king was capable of. However, this scene alone made everyone lose all hope of competing with him. The terrifying first heavenly lightning tribulation was swallowed by Wang Yi into his stomach. Transcending the tribulation. King was truly transcending the tribulation. Yin Chuan sat on a mountain peak for 3 days and 3 nights. During these 3 days and 3 nights, no one spoke. They just waited patiently. Zhu Jiansheng and the 5 swordsmen seemed to have realized that they had nothing to say. At the very least, they didn't want to speak before their hearts completely calmed down. Yin Chuan finished transcending the tribulation and sat alone on the mountain peak. He looked inside his body. The tribulation clouds were swallowed. Yin Chuan's true dragons will strongly suppress the tribulation clouds. Huh. Chapter 232. A loud sound came from Yin Chuan's body again, and his head shook violently. Acupoint. The first acupoint opened after passing the first heavenly lightning tribulation. Shunting acupoint. It was located 5 centimeters from the front of the head. Yin Chuan's mind was completely immersed in the shunting acupoint. It's opened, and this shunting acupoint is 10 times bigger than it was in my previous life. Yin Chuan was pleasantly surprised. The acupoint was a self-contained space that contained the profound qi in the body. Inner strength and qi power turned into threads of profound qi that were like golden liquid and gathered in the shunting acupoint. It was like a golden water droplet that floated in the huge acupoint space. The golden water droplet emitted a faint golden light. This golden light was Yin Chuan's inner strength and qi power. Chi power could be absorbed into the golden water droplet, and the golden water droplet could also turn into inner strength and chi power to fill the entire body. Refining inner strength into essence was to change the quantity of inner strength into a qualitative change, forming its own unique, profound chi. If one looked carefully, they would be able to see that there seemed to be a small golden dragon swimming in the golden water droplet. Originally, this was the unique behavior of an ordinary essence realm cultivator. But Yin Chuan was slightly different. In the shunting acupoint, above the profound chi, there was a mass of dark clouds that crackled with thunder and lightning. Rumble. The dark clouds kept exploding, and threads of thunder and lightning were absorbed into Yin Chuan's body, wandering around his meridians. It was the first heavenly tribulation cloud that Yin Chuan swallowed. The rolling tribulation cloud seemed to have shrunk countless times and was trapped in Yin Chuan's shunting acupoint. It kept emitting thunder and lightning, refining Yin Chuan's body at every moment. Looking at the tribulation cloud above the shunting acupoint, Yin Chuan was filled with emotions. In my previous life, I used all my power to open the secret technique of the tomb of the Immortal. Other than the life-stealing poison that allowed me to revive, this guy swallowing poison was also mysterious. Immortal? When the tomb Immortal was alive, he must have been an extraordinary person. Even among immortals, he must have been a top immortal. Heaven-swallowing poison. What a heaven-swallowing poison. Yin Chuan sighed. After 3 days and 3 nights, Yin Chuan slowly opened his eyes and stood up. A gentle breeze blew his long hair. Yin Chuan looked at the sky where there were no more tribulation clouds and smiled. Whoosh! Whoosh! Zhu Jiansheng and the 5 great swordsmen rushed to the top of the mountain. Yin Chuan, you're awake. The great swordsman exclaimed. How is it, Yin Chuan? What's your cultivation now? The 3 swordsmen swallowed his saliva and asked. Yeah, what about now? Everyone asked anxiously. He had just finished his tribulation and reached the first level of the essence realm. Why? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. Everyone, LV won the profound realm? Only the first level of the elite realm? After such a huge commotion, swallowing the heavenly lightning and the tribulation cloud, he was only at the first level of the profound realm? You're lying. The 3 swordsmen lost control of their emotions and became anxious. Who would believe such a thing? Did they think they were idiots? It's indeed the first level of the profound realm. It's just that my foundation is more solid than others. Yin Chuan smiled. Everyone was speechless. How can it be? Why is it only at the first level of the profound realm? Why is it so weak? The 3 swordsmen couldn't understand. Don't we all reach the first level of the profound realm after the tribulation? Yin Chuan smiled. Everyone was confused. Was I hallucinating just now? Are you okay? Zizi's voice came from behind them. Zhu Jiansheng and the others' faces changed. They quickly jumped away and looked at Zizi with lingering fear. Zizi looked at Yin Chuan worriedly. I'm fine. If my foundation is solid, my cultivation will be faster in the future. Yin Chuan smiled. Okay. Zizi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. She glared at Zhu Jiansheng and the others. Zhu Jiansheng and the 5 swordsmen shivered and didn't dare to say anything more. Chapter 233. Beside the Black Dragon Pool, Yin Chuan was washing the Jade Emperor's sword with water. The Jade Emperor's sword had turned black again. Apparently, it had digested the dragon's chi essence and blood. The sword's spirituality has increased. Looks like you're really an evil sword. A bloodthirsty, evil sword. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Buzz! The Jade Emperor's sword vibrated as if it was showing off. As he was washing the sword, Huoguang walked over. King, just now, the last brother has reached the complete realm of strength. Huoguang said excitedly. Complete realm of strength? How many people can trigger the heavenly tribulation? Yin Chuan asked as he washed the sword. Ah! Then let the other half continue to eat the remaining snakes. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Yes, but Lord, why don't you let them undergo the heavenly tribulation now? Hua Guang was confused. Go to the Day sect. My father worked so hard to get it. Naturally, I have to give it to my subordinates. Yin Chuan sighed. Ah, is the success rate higher in the Day sect? Hua Guang asked in surprise. Yes. Yin Chuan nodded. Yes, this subordinate understands. Hua Guang said solemnly. How's your cultivation now? Yin Chuan looked at Hua Guang. 10 days ago, I successfully reached LV2 of the Essence Realm. Continue to eat the dragons and cultivate. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Yes, Hua Guang replied. Not far from the Black Dragon Pool, ZZ sat at a stone table by the lake, drinking wine alone. She inadvertently glanced at Yin Chuan, who was washing the sword. Her eyes revealed a sense of tranquility that had never appeared before. Another 10 days passed. Let's go, Yin Chuan shouted. Yes, the 3,000 soldiers of the embroidered uniform army replied. The army set out once again, heading straight for the Day sect. Only a few hundred skeletons were left at the Black Dragon Pool. Day sect, in a large hall. A white-haired and white-bearded old man stood in the hall. The old man was very tall and sturdy, and his eyes shone brightly. A group of people stood on both sides of the hall, and they were all very respectful to the old man. There were 3 managers standing on both sides, a one-armed Taoist, a cold-faced Taoist nun, and a red-faced man. Behind the red-faced man stood the 6 swordsmen and the 7 swordsmen, respectfully. Feng Shao stood behind the one-armed Taoist. Sect Master, the cold-faced Taoist nun frowned. Everyone looked at the white-haired, white-bearded elder. In the Day sect, there was only one person who could be called the sect leader. Sect leader Feng Tyran. Wu Hui, don't worry. I called the 3 peak masters here today to discuss this matter. Feng Tyran said in a low voice. The red-faced man spoke up as well. Sect leader, it's just as my 2 despicable disciples said. If the Flood Dragon is on the run, then something big must have happened in the Demon Wind Mountains. Furthermore, a large number of demon beasts have appeared in the vicinity of the Great River sect recently. Clearly, they have fled from the Demon Wind Mountains. Bufan, I've thought about your conjecture, but no one knows what happened in the Demon Wind Mountain range. Feng Tyran frowned. Perhaps Miss Z knows. After all, she said she saw people from the Dazhao, Holy Land, and Demon Clan experts. The one-armed Taoist said after some thought. Her? Sigh, let's not disturb her. Feng Tyran sighed. Everyone fell silent. Father, why don't I go into the Demon Wind Mountain range to investigate? Feng Tianyu suddenly asked. Feng Tyran looked at his one-armed son and shook his head gently. No, the Demon Wind Mountain range is unusual. You can't go there. I'll go there myself in a few days. During this time, you guys take good care of the sect and don't offend anyone for the time being. Although the Day sect isn't afraid of trouble, we're still in a sensitive period with many eyes watching us. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.